This is part of an ongoing Dragon Ball and DC crossover story. Show your support and catch up fully by using the links below. 5 months had passed since Kakarot Kent took on 2 students. The scholarly son, Gohan, and the spawn of Shiva, Cassandra CAIN, had been training hard under the Super Saiyan's tutelage. Kakarot was a novel teacher. Spending years on his own all over the world, he often had to find ways to train aside from simply lifting heavy things. Given that from a very young age, he struggled to find things he couldn't lift. So today his students were taking part in an activity he'd done in small towns all over the world, delivering milk.
Skip-a, skip-a, la la la. Skip-a, skip-a, la la la.
Skip, skip, la la la. Skip, skip, la la la.
Skip, skip.
Makes it more fun when you gotta concentrate on the song too, huh?
Yes.
Right. Sure. I'm very nauseous. Ugh.
After they had finished their rounds, Superboy suggested that they do some studying now, despite Kakarot's protests. Gohan had been giving Cassandra language lessons, continuing on the teaching Barbara had started, not wanting Cassandra to lose any progress on her training trip. As a result, Kakarot was now the worst writer of the 3.
I hate those dusty old books. And that chalkboard mob bot. Wish we were sparring or something. Humph.
Mr. Kakarot learning language is fun. I'm on my 10th, and that's just Earth languages. Saikou no tabemono wa doko ni arimasu ka?
Kakarot was sure he'd recognized one of those words from his travels, but didn't have time to ask, as a sleek white limousine drove up to Kent Farm Lane. All 3 turned to look at it, only to be even more shocked as CEO of LexCorp Enterprises, Mercy Graves, exited from the driver's seat.
Superboy, your father wants to see you.
Oh,
Busy.
Cassandra stared at Mercy coldly. The driver had dealt with the Bat family before. She was never afraid, but that didn't make things any more pleasant.
what she means is we're in the middle of a lesson right now, and,
Well then bring them along. Get in.
Fun! I ain't never been in one of those long cars before.
The trio piled into the limousine, and it quickly backed out of the drive. Mercy was an expert driver, and handled the luxury vehicle like it was a Formula 1 race car. Cass was almost impressed. She drove straight into the center of Smallville's downtown before pushing a button on the dashboard. The wheels of the limo folded down as the trunk opened and propulsion engines burst out of it. The limousine shot off into the sky with a sonic boom as the residents of Smallville looked up in slack-jawed awe, just as Lex Luthor had intended.
Ah, you're right on time. It's good to see you again, Superboy. I trust you've been well?
Yes, Father. I hope I've handled myself according to your teachings.
And I see you brought some new friends. It's inspiring to see the Batman's legacy continue. You do your country a service.
Thank you.
Speaking of colorful friends, Superboy, Vice President Mars suggested you should join the Teen Titans. They're a nice group of young people right in her hometown of San Francisco. I think you being around other teenagers could be great for optics.
Of course, Father.
Kakarot, ever been to the White House before?
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Why did Miss Gordon let you watch those films?
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed the number of times I was invited as Superman.
I was never any good with that kind of stuff. You've done great, though. Feels like ages since me and Lois were trying to stop you doing all kinds of bad stuff.
We've all improved in different ways, haven't we, Kakarot?
Yep.
Walk with me. Let me show you how things work here, at the White House.
President Luthor began to give a tour, showing off the West Wing, the ballroom, the grand entrance, the halls of portraits of previous presidents. History that you could reach out and touch. It was all a bit overwhelming, made people feel small by comparison. Well, except for Kakarot, who was pretty bored by all the talking, and the relics strewn all about the walls were just dusty old things to him. In fact, one of the statues in the Oval Office was so dusty that Kakarot found he needed to sneeze after standing close to it. Not wanting to be rude, he quickly grabbed the nearest cloth to him and erupted in a massive
Achoo!
Godzilla.
Lex and Gohan looked at the martial artist in shock. Kakarot Kent had just sneezed on the American flag, but he seemed none the wiser.
This place is so dull.
Of course. Not really your lane, is it? Why don't we break for lunch?
Oh boy! What are you making, Lex?
I'm the president. I can have anything I want made.
Anything?
Kakarot proceeded to rattle off a list of requests, each more absurd than the last. The Saiyan went on for so long that Cassandra and Gohan were the ones who got bored waiting for him to finish.
Yes, well, that may take a while. My people have scheduled a press conference. Why don't we go feed that beast first while we wait?
We get to fight something while you cook, Lex? That's awesome! This whole president thing sounds pretty neat. Hey Gohan, maybe I should be president too.
You are nothing if not ambitious, Mr. Kakarot.
Kakarot was highly disappointed when they went to go talk to a mob of reporters instead of starting some kind of epic battle. The press had been informed about Superboy's return to the White House. Superboy's seeming disappearance over the last few months had begun to start quite the rumour flurry, though it did take a while for anyone to notice, since supervillain activity had fallen sharply in the city of tomorrow. But the appearance of Kakarot Kent in the White House stirred the hornet's nest of reporters even more, and the heroes were hit with a myriad of questions.
Mr. President, why is Superboy fallen off the map?
President Luthor, you personally asked Wonder Woman and the Saiyan Invader to intervene in combat. Do you honestly think that plan wasn't doomed?
Superboy, you were seen fighting Kakarot Kent when we last saw you. Care to comment on that incident? Superboy, you've been spotted in Smallville delivering milk. Is this some kind of political ploy to garner more support from the agricultural belt?
Kakarot, what have you been up to since your return?
Kakarot, are the reports of a solar-powered shark waging battle with you accurate?
Kakarot, is there really a girl version of you fighting Nazis, or did you make that up?
Wait, is that Batgirl? Batgirl's real?
No.
Cassandra released some smoke pellets from her utility belt. The press briefing room quickly filled with a thick black cloud as the heroes quickly slipped back out of the way they came.
I never thought of that.
The trio were now in the dining hall, seeing that Cassandra had taken the chance to get a head start, devouring as much as she could in a blur of motion that would even impress Kakarot, if he wasn't extremely jealous. They all sat down, and the orange-clad martial artist prepared to dig in. But suddenly, a glacier rose from the ground beneath them and split the table in two, crashing through the White House dome. The food was sent flying and then frozen before it could hit the ground, smashing into tiny ice shards. Kakarot turned Super Saiyan instantly and prepared for battle, as the glacier now separated down the middle, revealing the silhouettes who had used it to enter the building undetected. It's no Buckingham Palace, even Parliament gives it a run for its money. But it'll make a decent pit to stick your bones in after we're done. Manchester Black, one of the world's strongest psychics, stood leisurely in the middle, his back guarded by Solomon Grundy, the unliving juggernaut. The Royal Pain, Count Vertigo, and Cheshire, the toxic Terminator, stood by Black's sides. Cold-hearted Killer Frost rose from beneath the ice, having been the one who escorted them in. Above them, Silver Banshee, the superpowered screamer, flew in through the newly made hole, followed shortly by the most dangerous of the group, Subject 17, an alien infant raised in captivity long ago by Soviet scientists, and now filled with a hate for his human torturers that was only matched by his incredible power.
Manchester Black assembled another elite Superman revenge squad, ready for it to fail like all the rest.
With this justice team, our power is...
Focus!
Superboy had distracted Luthor for only an instant, but it was enough to break the tension of the standoff, as Solomon Grundy came charging at the president, even his rotted brain recognizing the opening as Luthor scolded the boy. The zombie picking Lex up and crashing through the nearest wall with the president. As Superboy rushed to go after the pair and help, his father shouted directions.
I can handle the Neanderthal. Neutralize Black, then focus on 17. He's the most powerful.
Superboy acknowledged the order just before it was drowned out by the sonic scream from Silver Banshee, hurtling Gohan into the sky, where he regained his balance for just a moment, the siren now surrounding Superboy with multiple copies. She had improved her power set, and now was able to make clones of herself from pure sound that fired at the young Saiyan consistently, blocking any attempts he made at escape or counterattacking. Cassandra crossed paths with Cheshire, and before she could make a move, her arms were suddenly surrounded by ice. Killer Frost aiming to entrap Batgirl and leave her open for a finishing blow. Cass's training with Kakarot proved vital in this instance, as she was relaxed enough to simply flow with the new situation, removing her hands from her gloves just in time to stay safe from the ice. This gave a new challenge. Cheshire, whose skin was coated in poison, leapt at Batgirl. The intel she had on her from prior research in the cave let the Shadow know that she'd be killed if she touched the assassin directly. Batgirl drove towards the overconfident Cheshire, slamming her boot into the assassin's face, and then, when she struck out for a counterattack, was knocked out cold with a right fist, timed perfectly for maximum damage. Batgirl had wrapped her fist in her cape, just as Cheshire blinked. A mistake no fighter could afford to make against Cassandra Cain. As this was happening, Kakarot had followed Luthor's direction to aim for Manchester Black, but Subject 17 had blocked his path, giving the Super Saiyan a rare thing indeed, a physical challenge. The creature could match Kakarot's speed, he could push back against his strength, but thankfully, it was clear he was no martial artist. The Super Saiyan avoided power blows and kept to the core rules of infighting. Keep it short, fast, compact. The image of Joe Frazier or Mike Tyson, Kakarot bobbed between the giant's arms, then struck in rapid combinations aimed at the most vital organs. It was a sight to behold, and 17 was not going to go down easy. Unfortunately, as Kakarot ducked to avoid a deadly left hook, he was suddenly on the floor. The world around him, upside down. He'd been hit, even though he thought he dodged. 17 pressed the advantage, slamming his foot down on the Saiyan, who barely managed to use his Violet Rift to escape. Or he thought he did, as a boot crashed against his ribs.
Oh, he's a bit punch-drunk, that one. Bless. So sad seeing fighters lose their touch. Well, bugger no. It's this prick right here.
Count Vertigo grunted in annoyance, as Manchester Black comically pointed to his ally, and then took the chance to light up a cigarette, and approached the scene of Kakarot being beaten mercilessly.
See, I know you're tough shit. Seen it myself. That mind of yours ain't easy to crack into. Must be that bloody mystical shit you've got in your body. No clue how that works, but it's annoying. Good thing we did our homework, like good boys and girls. Vertigo here is a different kind of headbanger. He makes you sick, takes away your balance, and then I just add to the effect. Twists your perceptions just a teeny tiny bit. Killing a Super Saiyan. Easy, mate.
Saiyan? You did not inform me our foe would not be of this world. This is not the deal.
You're an alien like me, huh? I wish I'd get a fair fight against ya.
Cool at 17. He's a space monkey, alright. But he grew up in the lap of luxury. In the good old US of A. Now he's all cozy in the White House. Ain't nothing worse than a traitor to his own kind.
Very well. But Luthor dies next.
No one? Die!
Kakarot burst out from his aura and emerged from 17's grasp, firing a Chaos Cannon directly at the Titan, blasting him through what remained of the White House walls. Count Vertigo prepared to make the Saiyan puke his guts up, but the speed of the martial artist was too great, and the Count found himself smacked in the face by a devastating backhand. Kakarot then prepared to take out Black with the same level of ferocity, but found that his body wouldn't listen to him. His heart was on fire, and Kakarot felt his energy drain without warning, stopping his assault. Black took this chance to slam the Super Saiyan to the ground with a psychic wave, feeling that Kakarot's mental defenses were suddenly a lot lower. The Brit smiled, as his sense of humor remained one of his favorite assets. Cassandra was doing her best to maneuver around the icy prison Killer Frost had turned the dining hall into. The confined space keeping Batgirl off balance, unable to find an opportunity to strike. Frost seemed to be cocky, underestimating her non-powered foe, and Cassandra saw this as an advantage, slipping under one ice blast and moving in for a short uppercut to take the meta down. Only for her body to be covered in ice instantly. Frost had made a sloppy move on purpose, knowing it was the only way for Batgirl to stop dodging if she moved forward to attack. Gohan's ears were ringing, his head was spinning, and his eyes were unable to cover the dozens of sound clothes made by Banshee. Had he been forced into this fight 5 months ago, he'd have been helpless. But thanks to his mentor and his sister student, he'd managed to learn how to calm himself in tense situations, focusing inwards and doing what he couldn't against Parasite.
Breathe. Ignore what you see. Sense. Focus on what you feel.
Gohan smiled, as now Banshee's location was obvious. But he also noticed something else. The other energy signatures. Mr. Kakarot, Cassandra, they were both fading, fast. They had taught him the power of sensing ki, and now it was about to let him feel their depths.
No!
Gohan's boot hit Banshee's neck while she was still gloating about victory. She was the master of sound, but light travels a lot faster. Her consciousness was gone before she even hit the ground, and now Gohan was in front of Killer Frost, snapping the icicle she had prepared to kill Batgirl with.
You don't touch them! You don't touch any of them!
He still had enough restraint to not kill anyone, but the brutality on display was a far cry from the boy's usual demeanor. With a pinpoint hit to the ice containing Cassandra, Gohan was able to free her and place her safely on the ground. She was unconscious, but thankfully still alive. However, this relief was short-lived, as 17 came bursting back through a wall,
grabbing the young Saiyan and tossing him through several rooms. Gohan quickly rose to his feet and prepared to face the alien alone, but was glad it didn't seem he'd need to, as Kakarot approached from behind him.
Mr. Kakarot, I'm still inexperienced, but I know we can take 17 together!
Perish, damn Saiyan!
Gohan was blasted from the back by a ki blast from Kakarot, the confused boy turning to look for any kind of reason, only to see that his master was moving unnaturally, all while Manchester Black stood in the distance, eyes closed, focused on controlling the martial arts body like a puppet.
Oi, I'm Kakarot Black!
Elsewhere, Grundy held tightly onto the president, squeezing against what regular shielding tech protected Luthor, even without his Superman armor. The difference in potency was incomparable, and Luthor felt the Immortal's grip breaking through as each second passed.
Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, smash beauty president.
Luthor spit into the eye of the monster and sealed his fate. Grundy gritted his teeth and put more pressure to crush Superman's skull, but suddenly, his hand couldn't move. It began to spasm and shake. Against his will, Grundy's arm slowly lowered Lex to the ground and released him. Then, the hand that dared touch Lex Luthor formed a fist, which came soaring back to Grundy's own face.
This will all be lost on you, but I'm used to speaking over my audience's head. Right now, coursing through your body are trillions of self-replicating nanodroids, all of them receiving a signal from my mind. I've prepared for a situation like this for a very long time. You never stood a chance.
Grundy began to pummel himself even more, one hand hitting his own face over and over like a jackhammer, the other ripping with all its might at his own leg until he managed to tear it clean off, his mouth gnawing at his own bicep and tearing the flesh, blood pooling around the monster. After a short while, the machines were the only things moving the body after Grundy's supernatural mind had faded. Luthor had made him tear himself apart.
Mercy. Send my cape at once.
Superboy was doing his best to hold off the onslaught from 17 and Kakarot Black. Lucky for him, Black wasn't nearly as skilled as Kakarot, more just flailing the arms of a Super Saiyan than using any kind of technique. 17, however, was incredibly strong, and struck the young hero with a vicious elbow to the jaw, then flipped over and used his gigantic bulk to slam the tiny champion into the dirt with both his feet. Things were looking bleak, until Gohan's vision was filled with a flowing cape. Luthor was now in his armor, and blocked a punch from 17 and kicked away Kakarot Black.
On your feet, Superboy. We do this together.
Right! Let's go, Superman!
The two caped heroes struck in a paired fury, as they did in their hundreds of training sessions, combating and outdoing the two foes in practiced, passionless, but efficient motion. 17 could barely keep up, and Kakarot Black was completely overwhelmed, as Superman beat him up decisively.
Luthor, you will fall this day!
That's right! I'm not having none of your truth, justice, and the American way bollocks today, Superman!
Hold 17.
On it!
Luthor's boots rocketed him forward faster than a speeding bullet, moving past 17 and Kakarot, and directly towards the intensely focused Manchester Black. Black quickly abandoned his control of Kakarot and tried to protect himself, but Luthor had already sent two piercing lasers from his gauntlet directly
through Black's eyes, lobotomizing the psychic, leaving him a drooling mess in a vegetative state. Manchester Black didn't have time to defend, much less beg. Kakarot was now free of Black's control, but instantly fell to the ground unconscious. With one threat down, Gohan squared up with the remaining one. Gohan had read his file. The alien had battled Lex many times. Unlike his other foes, it wasn't over money or power. His hatred for humanity was from the decades of torture and experimentation he'd undergone while held by the Soviet and then Russian government. When he finally had the chance to escape it all, it was Lex Luthor who dragged him back.
Stand aside. I only want Luthor. You're an alien like me. Truthfully, I do not wish to fight. Just let me kill him.
I know it was done to you, but you can't use it as an excuse. No one deserves to die. I know you're on opposing sides, but Superman, he's a hero.
How can he be a hero? He gave me back to my torturers. Those monsters didn't even give me a name.
I didn't have one either. But I do now. You can get over your past. You can be a hero, just like my father.
I can see your mind. We aren't so different. Maybe I can...
From across the room, another beam of energy came. This time, Superman had shot a concentrated blast from his chest plate, unloading a massive amount of power into a single, focused beam, and killed the alien instantly.
Good job keeping him distracted while I charged up, Superboy.
Gohan stood in complete shock as he watched Lex casually step over the warm, smoking corpse of 17. The boy was stunned silent as Luthor seemed to drift off into his own world, speaking to the alien's body as he roughly kicked away at it.
See what happens to anyone who crosses me? Anyone who underestimates Lex Luthor? Look at this, Superboy. This is what all my enemies will look like in the end. Nobody threatens me. Nobody gets in Luthor's way.
Lex turned to look at his son. The intense anger faded away and was covered up by the charismatic veneer they'd all come to recognize.
Come, Superboy. Let's gather your friends.
In his mind, in a state of complete shock, Gohan's senses were elevated for just a moment. And in that moment, Gohan felt a massive spike of power that he'd never sensed before. But it faded as quickly as it came. Some time passed until Kakarot and Cassandra had both been cared to. The White House staff was busy making repairs to the building, and the authorities had taken what remained of the villains away. The heroes chatting about the attack, Superboy selectively describing the parts Kakarot and Cassandra weren't conscious for.
You handled yourself well today, Superboy. My scouter indicated your power level to be in the billions. I see this training you've taken up is really working. I should thank you for that, Kakarot.
Oh, it's no problem. We're having fun back on the farm.
Glad to hear it. And I have good news. Miss Tezuka, prepare the food.
Impressive. Most impressive.
The trio began to run for the exit of the Oval Office, but Lex asked Kakarot to hang back for a moment. Kakarot dropped his shoulders in disappointment as he turned and walked back to the president's desk.
Yo, Cass! Save me some, okay?
No.
Lex smiled as Batgirl closed the door behind her, but then his face took on a more solemn expression as he turned to Kakarot.
I always liked you, Kent. You're humble, modest, Uncoordinated? I hope this feeling is mutual, but it's clear you're hiding something. We've been in fights worse than that before. You never went down that easy. Tell me what's going on.
You were always too smart for me. It's my heart. Some kind of virus.
I see. That aligns with the symptoms you're showing. Something from your time in space? Contagious?
Leo said it wasn't. I don't know where I got it, but it's focused on my cells. My key is killing me. Pretty nasty stuff, huh? While we're saying the truth, though, I gotta talk to you about what you've been saying.
You know.
Superboy's my son.
Yes. He was grown from your DNA after you left with the League. A precaution, in case beings like the Saiyans ever invaded again.
But I can also sense something else. He's got your key in him, too.
This key sensing of yours. It's hardly a substitute for scientific study, but you are correct. He is our child, and I hope that we could teach him to surpass us both.
Yeah, that's the idea. It does kind of get me curious, though. How tough you'd be if you learned how to use your key. Gohan's potential is way greater than mine ever was, especially when he gets angry. That anger, it's something he gets from you.
I've never needed anything but my mind. Superboy will be the same. Though, having a foundation martial arts skill does provide its benefits. Certainly more so than the usual powered brute.
You shouldn't have made him a Super Saiyan, Lex. It ain't the way to do it. He'd have got there on his own.
Well, you can help him with that, right?
Right. Well, I'll see you around.
Wait, Kakarot. I should apologize for all our past conflicts. It was a lifetime ago for both of us. Superboy is our future. I assure you he will continue to protect the world if you pass. But I will dedicate my own resources to finding you a cure, even if I have to bend time to my will.
Kakarot smiled before turning back around and giving Lex a very sudden hug. He then darted through the door, eager to dig into the remaining food. Luthor stood alone in his Oval Office as the moon rose in the night sky.
Phew! I am beat. Sorry for skipping out on training today, guys. The Justice League really needed my help. There was this evil science guy who built all these robots, and he made this ultimate creation called a Meso. He was super strong, too. It had all of the League's powers and almost destroyed the Earth with a self-destruct thingy. But it's okay. I just teleported him away and we're all good now.
Wow, that sounds like a really interesting battle. I'm glad the League was able to handle it. I would have come to assist if you needed me.
Oh man, that would have been great. I'm sure you could have taken him. Anyway, I'm gonna turn in early tonight.
Bed now? Moon just rose.
Yeah, that's when most people go to bed.
Must we?
No. You two can stay up if you want. I sleep so hard I might as well be dead.
As the martial artist retired to his bedroom, Gohan and Cassandra were left to their own devices. At first, Gohan wanted to use the evening as an opportunity to study, but he found he was unable to focus, as Cassandra just kept staring at him as he read his book. So, he asked if she wanted to do some training, but the girl shook her head, implying that all they did was train. So Gohan instead thought of a devious scheme that had been on his mind for a while.
Ha! You got the ice cream headache first!
The young Saiyan jumped from his seat proudly, holding his spoon in the air like a trophy, as Cassandra slammed her head to the table and held her ears after pushing away the massive tub of ice cream the two had dug out from the deep freezer. The celebrations were cut short as both students jumped when a bolt of lightning appeared in the middle of the room. Gohan quickly rushed over to Cass as they assumed battle positions, expecting this to be some kind of attack. They'd seen a few villains just show up on Kent Farm looking for a fight, though they weren't sure who this could be. Lightning sparked all over the room. Gusts of wind pushed the kitchen table and chairs around. The scraps of junk Kakarot had left about swirling in the air as a sphere appeared in the center of this indoor storm. From it emerged heroes from beyond time, saviors of utopian society, the Legion of Superheroes. Saturn Girl, Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy, and Matter Eater Lad.
Good. You two are here. You have to act quickly. Otherwise, we're doomed.
The time bubble expanded out and engulfed the two heroes. Its walls began to spin as light and space bent around them, the sphere moving through the time stream. From outside the sphere, the young heroes could see events throughout time play as the past and future became one. The Mogo tree shrunk and sank into the ground. A scientist gazed into a portal, saw only a red cape. A city of neon gripped by apathy. A young Kakarot helping a boy with red hair. The sphere continued to move, followed by a red blur, moving faster and faster until the end of a crisis. Bombs and tanks rolled past as heroes rose to fight them. Far away, a tyrant sun attacked 1 million heroes, and a war in heaven. That's evil won. Then, it all came to a screeching halt. The Legion shrinking the time bubble around themselves and leaving Cassandra and Gohan in an unfamiliar land at an unknown time. Their heads spinning from everything that had just happened.
You must solve the mystery of the Crimson Gourd.
Just as quickly as it appeared, the time sphere vanished, stranding the two heroes in the past. Gohan dropped the spoon he was holding on the ground, his brilliant mind processing all the implications of everything that had just occurred.
We've just broken every known law of physics in nature. We shouldn't be here. The ramifications of our every action could alter the course of history forever. Oh no, I dropped the spoon! The butterfly effect! The dust I just disturbed could cause the moon landing to fail. Or we could even be farther back than that. What if humans are yet to invent fire? It was a very delicate process, a 1 in a million chance. Do I pick the spoon up? Or could the added disturbance cause Rome never to rise? Cass, whatever you do, don't touch anything!
Cassandra, ignoring Gohan's advice, reached out and punched the boy hard in the face. He recoiled from the shock, and his eyes looked up into the sky to see a commercial airliner flying far overhead. Now knowing that they weren't that far back in time did help Gohan feel a little less anxious. He looked at Cass and saw that she'd moved on and was rummaging through some bushes. Her calm demeanor caused him to feel very embarrassed about his prior outburst, though his stomach did do one last flip when he saw a butterfly pass near Cassandra as she swatted it away casually. The two young heroes eventually found their bearings, Gohan's incredible knowledge of the world allowing him to quickly deduce that their current location was China, at least a decade or so in the past.
Cassandra suggested to go into town. Bruce always said that the key to solving any mystery lied with people, as people like to talk. With only a rough idea to look for a crimson gourd, the two oddly dressed strangers would have been hopeless had Gohan not been able to speak the language and gather what little intel they could. They learnt that people from the town had gone missing. The trek to the mountains was claiming more and more victims, something that was highly unusual for the area. They had a lead, but it still confused the pair why time travelers would send them specifically to deal with a missing persons case. Feeling like they'd work better on a full stomach, the pair managed to get a meal in a small shop run by a man named Kong. Just as they were about to eat, Mr. Kong began to yell at a thief, a figure holding a bunch of stolen dumplings, running across the tables and knocking over Gohan and Cassandra's food.
Sorry about that. See ya! Was that? I think that was Mr. Kakarot.
No.
Time travel is so strange. We can't interfere. This actually could have done untold damage to the time stream.
Just as Gohan had finished his warning, Cassandra darted after the monkey boy, an eager grin on her face, as Superboy panicked and then tried to give chase. This was Cassandra's chance to test herself against her master. She wouldn't let this opportunity slip by.
Whoa, that guy's really good. This is a lot more fun than I thought it would be.
Cassandra was now right behind Kakarot, who was leaping and darting through the town's architecture. Batgirl was able to keep pace, using her grapple to follow the boy's incredible jumps. His movements began to become clearer and clearer to Cassandra. The finesse Kakarot would achieve in his later years was absent, and what remained was a boy brimming with passion, but just a boy.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master!
With a low leg sweep, Cassandra flipped Kakarot over, and the boy responded by flipping backwards, getting into a peekaboo boxing style, bobbing and weaving in place. Impressed,
Ah, that was so cool! You're super strong, I can tell. Are you friends with her too?
Her?
before her question could be answered, Gohan arrived and landed between the pair. The Super Saiyan really didn't want this to escalate any further, given the risks involved.
Enough! We really can't be here! Whoa! You're flying! Oh no, that is so cool! Can you teach me how to do that? I have to use a cloud right now, but it'd be super handy to do it on my own too. And your hair, it's all glowy. Well, you see,
Special shampoo.
Ah, that makes sense.
Are you caught, Kent? I would have thought you'd beyond that by now.
Cassandra looked up, and to her shock, saw her mother. Or the girl who would become her mother. But for right now, the resemblance was striking. Causing Cassandra to drop her concentration, overwhelmed by the sight. She hadn't seen Shiva in years, and didn't know what to say, or what to do.
Yo, Sandra! Sorry, but these guys are crazy powerful. I couldn't get away, but I think we should try fighting them.
I see. Interesting. I could use the challenge.
Shiva leaped down and struck Gohan in the neck. The Super Saiyan, however, gave no response, as the blow seemed to have no impact. Shiva then shook her own hand, clearly hurt a little by hitting such a tank.
Listen, you really don't want to do this.
Oh, I really do.
The martial artist jumped forward again, executing a pitch-perfect combination that Gohan calmly dodged and deflected, not wanting her to hurt herself by hitting him directly. One of the dodged punches, however, was not a punch at all, as Shiva opened her palm and sent a few shurikens flying towards a bunch of civilians on the streets. Gohan barely managed to react in time, flying down and intercepting each and every one. Shiva then took this chance to vanish, starting a fire by kicking over a lamp and strengthening the flame with a handful of gunpowder. The town was quickly starting to burn, as an inferno had risen up thanks to Lady Shiva's efforts.
This is amazing! I can't even predict her moves even though I'm stronger! Guess I was right coming here to learn more martial arts. It's just the best!
Yes, it is.
I really do prefer fighting to all that stealing stuff anyway.
Why steal?
Well, Shiva says it's good training. She told all the people to not let up on us at all. She told me that it's all just pretend, you know, like a game.
Cassandra pointed down to the people trying to put out the fire that had been started by the young Shiva.
Is that a game? Find your path. Do not follow.
Huh? Well, I guess that does make sense.
Time to go, Kent. We have but moments before the Golden Warrior halts the fire.
The Sky Child called his faithful Cloud and picked up Shiva, the two ready to fly off. Shiva locked eyes with Cassandra, and the two were in a standoff of sorts. Both women feeling the connection between them, if only one of them could understand it.
I hope we meet again one day. You would be a worthy opponent.
I shall try to be.
And I want to meet you again too. Tell your friend he was really cool.
Cassandra bowed to her future master as the two flew off and vanished into the distance. Gohan, who had just finished saving the town from any major damage, arrived on the scene, and while he was annoyed at having been outsmarted, he was mostly just relieved that no serious timeline alterations seemed to have occurred.
That was really strange, but kind of nice seeing Mr. Kakarot so normal. He's always been so strong. I thought he was always that way.
He is the best.
We really have a long way to go, huh?
Yes, together.
Right. Well, I'm glad the town is all right.
Gohan!
Superboy dropped to the floor and was now sound asleep, only waking up an hour later as Cassandra was pulling him along in a small cart towards the mountains.
What? Oh! Well, I actually don't know how to describe it, but my key hurts?
Shiva, her first attack.
The blow had been a nerve strike, but not aimed at Gohan's actual biology, but his ki channels. Shiva was a master of the human form, both physically and spiritually, and she knew methods to bypass all durability. But one needs a much more intense type of training to strengthen their spirit.
Like my aunt before. She must have taught him that.
Gohan asked Cassandra why they were heading towards the mountains, and that girl explained that as Gohan was knocked out, the book he was reading from before the trip had dropped out of his costume. The cover showed a monkey riding a cloud, exactly like Kakarot's. She could barely read the words, but thankfully, it had some helpful pictures, and Mr. Kong recognized enough of the story and its similarities with what had made the townsfolk go missing to point the girl in the right direction. The story told of a cave where a giant demon held its victims in a magical gourd, a crimson gourd, like the time travelers had warned them about.
Pack your things. We have to go.
But why?
Those two that we fought, they'll come after us, and we can't take them. Yet. We have to find another town.
But I thought... Hey, did you lie? Were those people not pretending to be mad when we were taking from them?
Oh, you can't still believe that, Kent.
The young warrior and his latest master in a string of failed mentorships began a confrontation, one similar to those the boy had gotten into with his other teachers. Despite Shiva being a prodigy and reaching the peak of the martial arts community, she was still a product of it, focused on death. But the identity of Shiva was still new to her, raw, unfocused, and one that destiny would mold into the deadliest hands on Earth.
Lion is wrong. Stealing too. You're a great fighter, but that ain't no reason to be so mean.
I don't care. That is weakness. The boy today, I could feel it. He had more power than I could ever dream of. But I still beat him, because he cared. Follow his example if you wish. It will end the same way. You will lose.
I don't care about losing, but I care about how I win.
I will not let you become a liability to my goal. You're as useless to me as Ras Al Ghul. Strength comes from drive. You must know what you want and take it. Do you even understand what you want, Kent?
From outside of Kakarot and Shiva's camp, a nearby mountain erupted into green flame. The boy looked off into the distance at the chaos. He had no idea what was going on over there, but he did know what his answer to Shiva was.
I want to be strong, and the best way I know to do that is to help people. It's what's always worked for me.
Superboy and Batgirl dodged out of the way of another swing of the demon's giant fan, the wind from it blowing holes into nearby mountains. This mythic entity had appeared before them before they even got near the cave. Superboy took charge, but his blows were proving ineffective. The demon was of magical origin, and it seemed physical attacks were totally useless.
I'll try to stop him. Cass, you need to get to safety.
The word stop appeared on the crimson gourd in kanji. However, nothing came of it at first. Cassandra refused to run and threw a couple of batarangs towards the creature's eye, which surprisingly did some damage to it.
Zatanna, thank you.
Cassandra had taken to carrying enchanted gadgets should she come up against magically powered foes. However, the brief reprieve was cut short, as the beast's fury was now focused on Batgirl.
Cass, stop! Run! You can't fight this thing!
Gohan shielded Cassandra from the wind blast, but suddenly, his form was sucked into the crimson gourd. The word stop now fading from it. Cassandra had no idea what had just happened. Superboy was so powerful. If a weapon could overpower him, then it should be invincible. Why didn't the creature use it from the start? Unless there was some kind of trick to the device. Whatever it was, didn't really matter, as the Batgirl had to focus on staying hidden from the demon's gaze. One wrong move, and she'd be dead. Cassandra concentrated on everything that had happened, following her training of the Bruce and the Barbara, remembering the facts, the chain of events, correlating the evidence. She kept focusing on Shiva, her mind only being able to focus on the look in her eyes when she saw her. Same look Shiva always gave, even if the body was younger. Cassandra was never good enough, never strong enough. No matter how much she sacrificed, it was never enough.
Jinglebang, extend!
The monster was struck down by a gigantic pillar slamming into its body, pressing it hard into the dirt.
Hey, bad person! Great to see ya!
Hello.
This guy's pretty big, but I think I'm gonna take him on now.
Kakarot jumped into the air, landed on his cloud somersault, and began to use the magical staff to keep the monster at bay, extending it and expanding its width, turning more into a battering ram than a pole. The attacks seemed to be working, but Cassandra protested the boy's recklessness, remembering what had happened to Gohan just a few moments earlier.
The gourd! Magic!
Cassandra didn't have the words to warn the boy properly, bringing her mind back to Shiva. Always Shiva. The person who gave CAIN the permission to create her, to forge her, to take away her humanity. Now, that training was going to get them killed.
Now I'm gonna hit you really hard!
The demon began to laugh as Kakarot's grip on his staff faded, being forcibly pulled from underneath his cloud and sucked into the gourd, just like the others before him. The kanji for Gunna disappearing as Kakarot did. The cloud and staff landed on the ground, with no user to guide them.
Not good enough. Left me. Again.
Cassandra knew her limits. She knew that no matter how strong she got, there was a cap on human potential. That wouldn't impress Shiva. If that wouldn't make Bruce's legacy live on, if that wouldn't make her follow in Kakarot's footsteps, nothing would. But then she remembered Kakarot, what she had said to him. Follow his own path. Maybe that's what she needed to focus on. Not the mother who left her, not the father who broke her, not even the family who found and rebuilt her. Just her. What she could do. And that meant she could save her friends. Batgirl was in the open. She was no longer hiding. The demon rose slowly to its feet and shook off the damage the young Kakarot had managed to inflict. Cassandra CAIN picked up the Ryujingu Bang and stepped onto the cloud somersault, flying slowly up to the demon, who now took notice of her. She grabbed her cowl from her utility belt and pulled it over her face.
Next to fall under your own words.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Record.
The beast attacked Cassandra with a lunge, but she was a natural with the cloud, evading the blow effortlessly and smacking the beast with a quick flurry using the staff. She struck nerves, eyes, knocked out teeth, tripped up, anything to attack this monster in a way it had never felt before. Systematic destruction, with a bit of style. Cassandra danced with her new weapons. A ballet of motion followed each of her attacks, spinning around the pole and leaping between the sections of the cloud. Finally, the creature became so enraged that it focused purely on attacking, trying to goad some kind of word from Cassandra. However, for this speech-focused demon, Cassandra was probably the worst foe in the world for it to come up against, and she took the chance to use her staff to knock the gourd out of the giant's hands, then quickly grabbed it by leaping off the cloud.
No!
Record.
No!
As most tales tell us, undefeated monsters are normally not too bright when the tables are turned. Cassandra let out a sigh of relief before twirling the Ryujingu Bang once more, giggling at how much she enjoyed using it. Cassandra's joy was short-lived, however, as she quickly realized that while she'd won the battle, everyone was still locked inside the Crimson Gourd. She wasn't sure how to release them at all. At first, she tried opening it, turning it upside down, and shaking the captives out. That didn't work. She considered breaking the gourd with the Ryujingu Bang, but she was worried that doing so could lose her friends forever, until she noticed something. It was Gohan's book, dropped during the heat of the battle. Cassandra sat with the book. Though she had just battled a demon and had a run-in with her worst enemy, this was looking to be her greatest challenge of the day. She flipped through the pages, hoping to find an answer. Sure enough, she did. A picture portraying those trapped in the gourd being freed. But the most crucial part wasn't shown through pictures. It was told. Her parents had created her to be a weapon, a perfect soldier, one who would have no need for language. It had taken her years to grow beyond that. Barbara had begun her studies, teaching her to speak. Movies helped her not only grasp words, but come out of her shell too. But reading was so much harder. Gohan had insisted that they spend some time on the farm studying, exercising the mind as well as the body. But while violence was easy, this has always been an insurmountable wall for her. The girl stared at the squiggly lines on the thin paper. She desperately tried to remember everything she'd been taught. She worked her way through the page at an agonizingly slow pace.
I've got a gourd too, Monkey replied.
Sanja continued to struggle through the text. It seemed to never end, to never give her what she needed. She felt annoyed that something only seemed interesting in fighting, a first for her. But at last, she found the magic word, the way to free someone from the gourd. She had to read it though. She had to be brave.
Release! Release everyone trapped by the demon!
In a burst of light, the gourd began to produce dozens of people. First, Kakarot, then Gohan, and then several people from the village. But most surprisingly, the 4 Legionnaires that had set them on this quest to begin with.
Batman, Superman.
Mr. Gohan? I never thought we'd meet you.
But you brought us here.
We what?
The time travelers looked at each other in shock and confusion. They had come to the past to capture a time-hopping criminal who used future technology to terrorize the past in ironic ways. But they were caught in his trap in the process. The heroes of the future, present, and past all struck up conversation to figure out what had happened. Gohan was the one who figured out that a future version of the Legionnaires must have gone back in time to grab Gohan and Cassandra to save their past selves, letting them go back to the future and complete the time loop. The young Kakarot was very confused by all the talk and decided to take his exit. He'd helped out, and that was enough for him. The gathered heroes waved him goodbye as Kakarot continued his mystical adventure.
Can't believe I got to see you, Cassandra, and Kakarot Kent on the same day.
Mr. Kakarot's pretty great.
I mean, yeah, sure, if you're into that stuff, but like the two of you, wow.
What?
We just want to say thank you. You might not believe this, but sometime soon, you'll change the world.
Cosmic Boy set up the time sphere and they all got in. Gohan having the good sense to close his eyes for this trip. When he next opened them, they were back in the Kent Farm kitchen. It was early morning now, and the tub of ice cream was melted on the table. That didn't stop Matter Eater Lad from eyeing it as if it was some lost masterpiece.
Is that ice cream? Can I eat this?
It's already melted.
That flavor isn't even in the records!
The Legionnaire lifted up the entire plastic tub of ice cream and took a bite out of it. Literally. The heroes of the future said their goodbyes and vanished. Gohan and Cassandra looked at each other and decided to try and finally get some sleep after their grand adventure. Cassandra walking off towards the staircase, only for her heart to sink as she saw her mother coming down the steps and preparing to leave through the front door. She had been checking on Kakarot's condition, but this was unknown to the two young heroes.
Cassandra, aren't you up early?
The girl froze, her mother standing before her again. An awkward silence filled the room. Shiva left. Gohan walked into the room after hearing the door close. He looked at Cassandra, who dropped to the floor.
What happened?
Mother, I'm not a weapon.
Hey, listen. I understand.
Gohan consoled Cassandra, let her silently cry beside him, saving her in a different way.
Wow, I had no idea they both suffered so much.
Wish we didn't have to see that, but I can make sure the time loop is stable now, which is a relief. These calculations would be a lot easier with a 12th level intellect around.
I felt so ashamed watching our younger selves when they saved us from the gourd. We built them up as idols in our minds, and they were just two gawky caveman kids. But knowing that they had a future, a legacy of their own, beyond their parents, gave them the confidence to keep fighting. They'll need it, as their greatest battle is still to come.
The strongest under the heavens shall be determined today! Kakarot Kent versus the Justice League!
The Justice League's popularity was waning in the public eye, President Luthor's criticisms having taken their toll on the team's perception.
This is part of an ongoing series. Get caught up by using the link in the description.
So an idea was hatched from the lips of a quiet soul. Cassandra Cain had suggested the League stage a massive charity event, as it had done in the past. Crowds always came out in droves to see the heroes they loved perform amazing feats. However, these events ended when Luthor joined the League. He insisted that efforts should be focused through LexCorp's outreach programs. Kakarot thought that Superman just made things boring, but Cassandra quite bluntly pointed out that since Superman was no longer a member of the Justice League, why should they still do things his way? So, this tournament was arranged, serving the dual purpose of also being a gift to Kakarot from his teammates in celebration of his safe return to Earth and hopeful continued health.
You don't stand a chance. I was captain of the Co-City Crane High School baseball team.
They'd never let me play.
The first event was as grand as you could get. A cosmic game of baseball, 1v1. Green Lantern took his position in the very limits of Earth's stratosphere, while Kakarot tied up his boots on the surface of the sun, the Saiyan being able to breathe because of a special device provided by Quintum. Hal Jordan kissed his ring and created a massive baseball bat big enough to cast a shadow over the planet, while Kakarot brought his hands to his chest and charged up his ki to its absolute limits.
Here we go, folks! As you can see from the equipment provided by Wayne Enterprises and Leo Quintum's project, they're about to begin. I'll remind you that Green Lantern has to hit back Kakarot's ki blast and then make it all across the solar system and back before his Saiyan ally can recapture the energy orb and tag him out with it.
Cannon!
Hal pulled the massive baseball back and perfectly cracked it against the ball of ki, knocking it far away from the planet and off to the deepest reaches of the solar system.
Green Lantern is in motion! So let's check in on Kakarot chasing down that energy blast.
The Super Saiyan was moving so fast that his eyes were useless. He didn't need them. His sensing abilities had grown to the point that he could read and dodge between asteroids without losing a single bit of his momentum. Compared to the Green Lantern, or even his other contemporaries, Kakarot's flight was a loud, ugly, ramshackle thing, the equivalent of strapping a spiritual rocket to your back and hoping for the best. But he'd honed it, mastered it, made it efficient, and now moving far faster than the speed of light was effortless for him. The beam was now right next to him, his sensors making it seem as if it was in slow motion. The Super Saiyan prepared and focused his energy to his arms and dove right in front of the blast's path of destruction. His hands crashed against the crackling energy. His focus was on maintaining the perfect center point, or else the beam would just wash over him in a wave. Blocking energy effectively took a calm mind, but most importantly, the guts to stare death in the face and say, "Your move."
Good, great, awesome, outstanding, amazing! Before our very eyes, Kakarot Kent is actually holding back his own energy blast. No, wait, he stopped it outright? Enough raw power to turn our world to ash, held effortlessly by our champion! But the battle has just begun. Green Lantern has already grabbed a meteorite from Uranus and is landing on the surface of Pluto. He now only has to grab some ice from the cold dwarf planet and make it back to Earth. Then he's home free. Can Kakarot catch up in time?
Hal Jordan skidded across the surface of the tiny planet, his free hand scraping chunks of ice from the ground. With the bases circled, now he was on his way home. The velocity of a Green Lantern when traveling in a straight line was unmatched across the universe. Kakarot stood no chance of catching up now. Hal smirked to himself as he saw the pale blue dot he called home getting closer and closer, until it was replaced on the horizon in a burst of violet. The lantern tried to stop, but his own speed was his undoing as Kakarot appeared before him, holding the Chaos Cannon out in front of his body. The only thing Hal could do was raise his shields and brace for impact.
And just like that, Green Lantern is out of here. Kakarot Kent takes the first round.
You okay, buddy? I tried to take some of the power back from that one, but I might have overdone it when I cooked it up.
I'm good. Only thing you hurt was my pride. That's been bruised before, though. Great job out there, bud.
In order to afford the Justice League the time off to have this event, allies from all over the world had been mobilized on patrols, just to make sure no supervillains hatched schemes while the most powerful heroes were occupied. One of those allies was the Saiyan Prince VEGETA. His efforts at public reform had improved since the incident at Kahndaq some months ago, but he still had to have a chaperone. So Steve Trevor was tagging along. The two were responding to small incidents,
which was very frustrating to the prince.
When I agreed to these reform efforts, I was promised some challenge. So far, you've had us chasing down riffraff. Don't those scouters of yours have anything worth my time?
Sorry you're not so, Highness. Looks like the best I have is one of Flash's guys. Calls himself the Trickster. I know how much you like those tricky types.
It will suffice. I could use a victim.
You know, I shouldn't be, but not gonna lie, I'm here for it.
Vegeta smirked at his companion. Perhaps the two of them could find a way to get along after all. The pair quickly tracked the Trickster down to his hideout. He'd taken over a former Spencer's Gifts at an abandoned mall. They entered with perhaps too much caution, as the only trap set up for them was an assault of sound from several wall-mounted fake fish that began to sing.
Hello, my baby, hello, my honey, hello, my right-time gal, send me a kiss by one, baby, my heart's on fire.
You'll never stop my scheme. Within the hour, every school in the city will smell like rotten eggs.
Pathetic. Trevor, this one's part of a gang, yes?
Yeah, most of them are at large, actually.
Good. You're going to tell me where they are. All of them.
Ha! As if I would tattle on my fellow rogues.
You don't understand. This is not a negotiation. We're not in your little hideout. This is an operating table. And I'm the surgeon.
Wait, what are you doing with that rubber chicken? No.
The view screens in the arena were now displaying a beautiful island scene. Queen MERA of Atlantis stood in her full glory, waving and talking to the locals who were kind enough to accommodate this event. Beside her, Aquaman, her husband, doing some stretches to prepare for this challenge. Kakarot was sitting down, playing with the sand, and resting as much as he could between bouts.
For our next round, we venture into the realm aquatic. The King and Queen of Atlantis will both participate in this event, but Aquaman's role is going to be a little different. The two will split the ocean like the legends of old, and Aquaman will proceed to run down the newly created path. Whoever splits them apart further, and long enough for him to run without getting wet, will be the winner!
With a kiss on the cheek, Aquaman readied himself as MERA concentrated. She drew upon all of the power of her hydrokinesis, for this feat would require everything she had.
Oceans, you shall obey your queen, the Queen of Atlantis.
In a surge of biblical power, the waves rose up and split down the middle for miles. MERA's body shaking a little as she struggled to hold back the intense fury of the deep. But she could hold it, and Arthur ran at incredible speed, crossing all the way to the next island before a drop landed on him.
Stupendous! What a duo those two make! Can Kakarot match such a clear display of mastery over one's chosen element?
Kakarot got up, smiled at the two, and fired a gigantic beam from his hand, one that expanded in size as it travelled, and split the ocean from the island to the next continent, and eventually the entire planet, as it circled back 2 more times.
Alright, this should hold for about the next hour, so you can take a break if you need to.
I concede. Your power defies reason, Kakarot. Marvelous work.
Hello, it is I, a geek for fun, your lord and saviour, your what-if extraordinaire, here once again to interrupt the video you're so previously enjoying. Very sorry about that, but I promise you, this one isn't related to my world domination schemes, it's actually important. Well, okay, maybe it's like 5% related to my world domination schemes, but let's just get to the point. Here at Geeks for Fun, your support has made so many things possible. We've been able to expand our production beyond anything I could have conceived. However, we're still not even close to where I would want this channel to be. As just the reality of being a creator on YouTube, especially a smaller creator, being able to earn a living off this channel is basically an impossibility at the moment. But there are ways we can do to make this possible for this to become a full-time job for me. If you've been paying attention to the thumbnails and the art you've seen in this episode already, and some art you're gonna really see coming up for the rest of this episode, I am an artist. Still learning, but yeah, I guess that's what you could call me, and I'm open for commissions. So, if you want art of your OC, or really any previously established character, done to the highest quality level on the internet, you can just pop over to my Twitter or my Ko-fi page, and we can work out making whatever you want to be drawn a reality. Outside of that, if you don't want to get any fancy-pantsy art commissions, and you just want to support me and the team a little bit more directly to this channel, then you can go to our Patreon page. It has plenty of different tiers for all different kinds of price ranges, with the $10 and above patrons able to get access to Dragon Ball DC episodes and all of our other what-ifs an entire week early. With this kind of power, the power of Patreon. So yes, if you really want to help me conquer the world and make this channel do better and bigger things, help us out. This has been Geek for Fun, saying thank you. Now enjoy the rest of the episode.
And another round goes to Kakarot Kent. He's 2 for 2! No man or woman can stop him!
How about a Wonder Woman?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Next up is a contest of chaos. The Super Saiyan versus the Princess of the Amazons, the leader of the Justice League, Wonder Woman!
2 weapons were drawn. Kakarot's Ryujingu Bang, Diana's sword forged by Hephaestus. But the Amazon was also wielding something that wasn't a weapon at all. The Golden Perfect rested in her other hand. No words were exchanged by the two, simply knowing smiles, as they waited for their foe to make a move. The rowdy crowd fell silent, as a wave of intensity flowed over the moon, building to a breaking point. Until Kakarot lunged forward with a downward staff strike. Diana parried and responded by sending out some of the lasso towards the Saiyan. Kakarot used the staff to pole jump out of the way, landing behind Diana, then spinning around with the weapon, extending as he pivoted, creating a miniaturized tornado from the speed of the move. Wonder Woman responded with poise, smacking away each spinning strike at the perfect angle to deflect their power, until once again sending out the lasso to catch the spinning top Saiyan.
Unbelievable! In a stark contrast to the previous displays of power, this bout is a masterclass on weapons handling from both parties. But what will win out? Precision or versatility?
Kakarot had managed to continue his offensive and avoid Diana's attempts to subvert his guard, erupting in an increasing flurry of staff strikes, the blows exceeding the thousands, causing Wonder Woman to fall back, unable to accurately deal with the Saiyan's flowing and constantly shifting offense. Her sword was smacked into the air in one decisive strike to her wrist, and the Super Saiyan seemed perfectly positioned to end this fight.
You still make the same mistakes, Kakarot.
With a smile and an elegant motion, the Golden Perfect, which had been left laid all across the arena, was pulled taut and wrapped around Kakarot's leg, arm, torso, neck, and face, causing him to fall to the floor, trapped, as his own weapon fell on top of the helpless Saiyan.
You let your guard down too easily. Being relaxed and flexible is great, but you mustn't become overconfident.
Yeah, sometimes I am a bit too sure of myself. Like that time I thought I could eat the whole cow without Ma finding out.
Diana's sword was just a diversion. Her true ally was always the lasso.
And the Super Saiyan is down! This round goes to the Justice League, but that fight was pretty decisive. Things look bleak for our champion. He's still got 2 more rounds with Wonder Woman coming up, as well as the other Leaguers who are patiently waiting their turns. Next up, we take to the skies with the Avian Warrior for a display that's quite literally out of this world!
Just as Vegeta and Steve were busy during the day's events, so too was the young Gohan, who had taken his father's advice and joined the Teen Titans for a day. To his surprise, he was quite glad to be around Damian Wayne. The two had become fast friends. Gohan was also a natural fit on the team. His immense strength gave them just the tank they needed to help handle threats that would otherwise be above their tier. The boy was also amazed to meet the mysterious Raven, his knowledge of magic being very limited, as Lex didn't like the inexplicable force. Gohan did come off a little too strong though, with his endless stream of questions.
I see you're producing these shadowy tendrils. Are those creatures you're summoning from another dimension? Is that like Mr. Kakarot's Violet Rift? Or are you creating them from thin air, converting the atoms in the atmosphere from gas to solid? Or is it just an aesthetic choice and you're really just using advanced telepathy?
The daughter of the devil shot Gohan a glare, before his flurry of questions was interrupted by Damian.
Cease your interrogation of the party mage.
Oh. Wait, is that an RPG reference? If she's the mage, then what am I?
You're DPS. I'm the DM. Now focus on this raid boss.
Who, Deathstroke? That guy's a pushover. Hey, Mr. Wilson, remember me?
Say, you don't look that strong.
Kakarot and HAWKGIRL were in a vicious tug of war, gripping against each other and pushing with all their might to send the other into the opposite goal, a ring in the sky on either side. The Saiyan was still in his base form, but impressed at how strong Kendra had managed to get in the time since their hunt for the entities. All the members of the League had been training hard since those events, and the benefits couldn't be denied.
This is the most intense bout of Thenagarian Snareball I've ever seen. Here they go again, building up speed in another brutal mid-air collision. These two are liable to crash each other into the ground before they either goes through with that goal. But Kakarot has yet to go Super Saiyan. Is he trying to pace himself for the remaining challenges? Could that backfire here? This is the stuff tournaments are made of!
Holding back on me? Why not go all out, Goldilocks?
Heh. To be honest, I didn't think I'd need it. But all that training you've done has paid off. Let's see if it's enough to keep up with this!
The Saiyan smiled as he rocketed towards her. But this had been her plan from the beginning. HAWKGIRL's nth metal wings expanded and transformed as she began to absorb the flowing energy from the Super Saiyan. Kakarot didn't have any time to realize his mistake, as his power was ripped away from him and funneled into his opponent. Kendra's wings glowed
as she used the stolen energy to drag the Saiyan through the goal, giving HAWKGIRL the victory.
And another round goes to the Justice League! We're 2 for 2, folks. Things are getting intense. Well, this next round will surely have you all on the edge of your seats as Kakarot will face off with the master of the Mindscape, Martian Manhunter. You won't want to miss a moment!
The Saiyan and the Martian sat atop 2 spiked pillars, stretching far into the sky. The goal was to remain perfectly balanced, meditating and controlling one's spirit, becoming in tune with nature. They seemed evenly matched, each a faithful practitioner of the art. For any students of meditation in the audience, watching the two was mesmerizing. For the majority of the audience, however, it had been an hour of nothing happening, which was extremely dull.
Incredible. I must admit defeat. This contest would continue for some time. However, peering into Kakarot's mind, I see he has somehow achieved a stillness with the natural world far beyond me. Congratulations.
That's right, Chiefs. Pour that maple syrup all over my breakfast.
Oh.
Surprise victory, but a victory nonetheless. Kakarot can quite literally turn things around in his sleep. Let's get back to something a little more action-packed.
The Ambassador of Peace re-entered the arena. It was time for their second round. A debate the two had was about to be settled right now. Diana took a seat across a large table from the Saiyan warrior. The mythic beings locked eyes, ready to do battle and settle their own civil war once and for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to witness feats of inhuman proportion as these two mythic warriors see who can best each other in a contest that takes guts. Who can eat the most ice cream?
The crowd went wild as tubs of frozen ice cream of various flavors were wheeled out onto the arena floor, and the contestants began to devour the sweet treat. Cassandra CAIN had been watching all the events with wide eyes, excited to see Kakarot finally get to do what he talked about for over a month now. After some time, a small figure approached Cassandra.
Don't be alarmed. You can't tell, but it's me.
Oh, hi, Superboy. Nice hat.
Ugh! How did you know it was me? Never mind. Please don't say anything. Father would be disappointed if he found out I came here instead of staying with the Titans.
Relax. I won't tell Daddy.
Please stop that.
Nope. But I will apologize. I came at you pretty hard when we first met, and seeing you grow and prove yourself over these months, I jumped the gun a bit. You're just a kid. You don't deserve to deal with Luthor's baggage.
It's okay, but thank you. I really do like your writing. It helped me learn a lot more about the world while I was in the lab. While I was training with Father, I mean.
Right. So, what do you make of this? This show by the League? You mind giving me the inside scoop on what it's about?
I believe it's trying to fix their public relations. That they're not unknowable gods lording above, but they're just silly, kind people, trying to help.
Sounds like good intentions, but the world tends to prefer the hard-ass approach. No telling if this is having the intended effect.
I hope so.
Woo! Yeah! Go, 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 go! Eat it! Eat it! There you go! Go, Kakarot! Woo!
Cassandra CAIN joined in the crowd's cheers. Something that was very unexpected from the quiet girl. She'd been an absolute beacon of joy during every round of the tournament. Watching her master and her heroes compete was better than she could have ever imagined. This was a great day.
All the dark thoughts that normally clouded things seemed to have a silver lining. All the epic matches and the silly announcer made the girl smile. That was one movement of muscles she didn't have perfected, but one she was slowly mastering thanks to Kakarot's teachings.
I can't believe it! It's over 9,000! 9,000 bowls of ice cream consumed by Kakarot Kent! This round is over!
Thank Hera. I was the overconfident one this time, my friend.
Rain fell upon the city. It was always raining. And if it wasn't that, it was snowing. The dark, cold buildings wet with the tears of tragedy that was called Gotham City. One of the countless skyscrapers weathered the storm and stood strong among the blood-red sky. And on this building, perched atop a gargoyle, stood Kakarot Kent, peering across the city.
Can't sense him! Where could he be?
The tournament was reaching its finale now, and one of the last rounds was a massive game of hide-and-go-seek with Batman in Gotham City. At first, the league didn't even ask if Batman would participate. Bruce had always turned down requests like this, but Dick Grayson was different. He was making his own Batman, and he couldn't resist the chance to use every trick he'd learned and every gadget in the Batcave to try and outfox his champ.
Kakarot has 1 hour to find Batman. Can the master of martial arts find the Dark Knight in his hometown? Oh, the suspense! Pay close attention, folks. There could be a lot of close calls in this one. What possible strategy could Kakarot employ to track down Gotham's urban legend? Oh, it looks like Kakarot might have a lead as he's headed to Arkham Asylum, the madhouse of mayhem. Could the Caped Crusader truly have tucked himself away in there?
Kakarot entered the chilling doors of the asylum and made his way to the cell blocks. He was sure that Batman would be sneaking about in the rotten halls of the crumbling sanitarium. He opened one of the many cells and approached Waylon Jones, aka Killer CROC.
Have you seen Batman?
No.
I'm looking for my friend Batman. Do you know where to find him?
Nah, mate.
Have you seen Batman? About this tall, has a cape with pointy ears?
You're despicable.
No, I'm Kakarot.
Leave.
With Arkham abuzz, Kakarot was quickly running out of time. Gotham was a city of millions. There was no way he could ask everyone where Batman was. He'd gone into this challenge planning to just use his key sensing ability, then teleport. But there must have been some kind of gadget that was blocking him. He needed to think up a new plan. If the Violet Rift failed, then Kakarot would have to fall back on one of his most trusted techniques, since he was a boy.
What's this? Kakarot Kent has got Batman's scent? He's making a beeline across the entire city, heading straight for the Caped Crusader. What a honker on the champion, ladies and gentlemen. Is there nothing he can't do?
As the last crook fell, Dick felt a presence behind him and instinctively turned to throw a punch that was caught by a smiling Kakarot.
Got ya! Should've tried smelling you sooner!
Drats, my excellent taste in self-care has bested me. Again. Nice work, champ.
Yeah, but I'm gonna need to be at my best for this next one, showstopper.
Two masters of physicality. One of the spiritual, the other of the physical. Kakarot Kent and Wally West in a sprinter's stance in the middle of Atlantis. The location was picked for its unique locale, but the race itself would span the globe. The question needed to be answered. Who was the fastest man alive?
Flash fact. An object's mass increases as it moves faster, making the speed of light a scientific impossibility. And to that, these two men say wrong! Nothing's impossible for our heroes, but who can truly call themselves the master of faster? The Scarlet Speedster or the Super Saiyan?
So, I know this is for charity. Want me to, go easy?
Never! Give me your best!
Thought you'd say that. Alright then.
On your marks. Ready... Set... Go!
No one else in the audience could see this. Even Leo Quintum's time-altering cameras could only track snapshots. And it was over, just as soon as it began. But for Wally and Kakarot, it was the race of a lifetime. Kakarot blasted off at full power, his gi tearing as all of his energy was focused purely on momentum, hurtling out of the water and taking the lead. Wally couldn't get strong footing, so he lagged behind the rocket burst of the Super Saiyan. Kakarot was making headway, past Metropolis, past Gotham, but then he began to feel the sparks of lightning on his feet, and a smiling Wally overtook him, waving as he did. Across Europe, Wally was in a definitive lead, Kakarot pushing himself to the limit, but being unable to make any real headway. When they arrived in Africa, Kakarot almost fell to the floor, panting, sweat pouring off him in droves. But this was a challenge. Perhaps the greatest challenge he could face in this universe. Something like this wouldn't come again. He didn't have the time to wait any longer. Somehow, through sheer force of will, Kakarot broke through his ceiling and caught up to Wally, a beam of golden light now neck and neck with a lightning bolt of crimson. They were near the finish, and Wally West felt a thrill completely new to him, as Kakarot defied all explanation, pushing further and further, going faster and faster, no matter how tired he seemed. Then, they reached the finish line. It had been close, but Wally West stood as the victor. Kakarot, now in his base form, resting on the floor. Almost. He'd almost done it.
That? Wow, man. I didn't even know you could go that fast. Next time you might even win.
Yeah. Next time.
Way past cool! We couldn't see it, but just looking at our champions proves what trials they had to go through. The Flash has won, but Kakarot gave it his all. As we approach our final battle, it looks like this will be the point that decides who truly is the world's strongest. Who is better, Kakarot or the Justice League?
Now, my friend, I believe we have reached the finale. Recover. I shall prepare as long as you need.
The back alley bar that the rogues hung out in was in ruins. Vegeta had forced the information from the trickster as to where it was located and who to expect. Steve Trevor went along with things because it could mean more meta criminals off the street. But the prince was just hoping that one of these super criminals and meta-humans could give him the kind of challenge he was promised. And while the bar patrons had been more entertaining than the trickster, they were still pushovers to Vegeta. He didn't even need to leave his base form, something that infuriated him.
Trevor, be honest with me. Will I ever have a proper challenge on this pathetic rock? I can sense him, you know, growing stronger out there. He's fighting someone right now. I've been trying to ignore it all day, but whoever his opponent is, they're pushing him beyond his limits. What must I do to encounter a foe like that?
Well, I mean, dude's taking on the whole Justice League. Can't really expect a bunch of guys with gadgets to compare, right?
He's what?
Did you not know? The reason we're out here today. The Justice League's charity event? It's the tournament with Kakarot.
You mean to tell me that I've spent months cleaning up the trash of your world, being told that I'm not to fight Kakarot, and she's out there right now fighting Kakarot?
You seem mad. Are you mad? It's kind of hard to tell since you seem so mad all the time.
Vegeta was done with this farce. He left the bar and headed straight to the enormous levels of power he felt in the distance. He could sense it properly now that he was focused. Before, he'd tried to ignore it, to block Kakarot's power out of his mind. But now he could feel the strength of his rival, and a wicked smile grew on his face. He was stronger.
10, 9, 8. Wait a minute. And he's up yet again. This is the 4th knockdown so far.
Yield.
Why would I do that? This is a fight!
That it is.
With uncanny speed, Wonder Woman leapt across the stadium and ducked under Kakarot's left hook, throwing out a kick to his chest. It landed hard, but the Saiyan had braced himself enough that he could slam down his elbow onto her knee, seizing the opening to throw another kick of his own. Diana too could fight through pain, a fractured leg not stopping her from grasping Kakarot's arm in a lock and dragging them both to the floor in a seemingly inescapable hold. Kakarot responded by biting down hard on Diana's hand, making the Amazon lose her grip as he fired a ki blast directly into her chest, hurtling her up into the atmosphere. Wonder Woman threw her arms out, stopping her ascent, then dove right back to the ground. Diana realized that the only way to take out a Super Saiyan was to go even further below. She took the lasso of truth and slowly wrapped it across her arm, ready to finish this in one blow.
An excellent battle, Kakarot. Let us end this at our full might.
You've got it! Dragon Fist!
A shockwave echoed from the epicenter of the blast, shaking the entire galaxy as the two mightiest fell to the ground. It was called immediately a double knockout. Both heroes smiling with a satisfied look on their faces. Kakarot and Diana held each other up as their battle damage was healed by the Amazon's purple ray.
That was one great fight! All those years begging you to go all out on me. Thanks for finally doing it. Best gift I could have asked for.
Wonder Woman, however, had one last gift for the Saiyan. It was thanks to him that they'd all grown so strong. His single-minded obsession with growing stronger had changed them, changed everyone, and made them all strive to be better than they were the day before. Diana wrapped his and her hand in the lasso of truth and raised them up in the air.
Hola, Kakarot Kent. I declare him the world's strongest.
And there you have it! The Ambassador of Truth has let it be known, despite the events ending in a draw, I think it's safe to say that Kakarot Kent has proved himself to everyone in this arena.
Not everyone. Never to his prince.
Everyone in the stands was on edge. They knew of Vegeta's deeds under Wonder Woman, but the shroud of danger still followed him wherever he went. Vegeta couldn't deny. The fear on their faces felt good.
Vegeta, I thought you were tasked to assist Steve Trevor.
While you openly mock me, I accomplished your tasks. Trevor, at least, was honest with me.
You know I can't allow you to.
Kakarot placed his hand on Diana's shoulder. She couldn't deny the look on his face, and she knew this was causing Vegeta immense pain. She had no right to decide their fates for them. They would have to settle this themselves. The future of the Saiyan race should be left in Saiyan hands.
I gotta do this. But, everyone, thank you for everything. I had the best time ever with you guys.
You know the place. I won't wait any longer.
Vegeta blasted off, heading to an all too familiar destination. Kakarot looked down, then to the stands. Cassandra and Gohan were there. Lois too, writing notes on what had just happened. He exchanged one smile with them both. His two students not understanding the weight of what it meant to him. So, they just smiled back. And the Super Saiyan flew off to meet his doom.
I don't know what it is. It seems crazy, but I've been looking forward to this.
A Saiyan is born to battle. What happened here between us, neither will be satisfied until we settle it. I despise you, clown, and by my hand you shall fall before me. Like the low-class trash you are, you shall look up at your prince and beg for death.
I ain't afraid of losing, and I could think of worse ways to go than in a fight with you. But, when we fought, you won. I know why I want this. My friends saved me. I want to know if I've truly got what it takes to win. But you?
I had my pride restored by filth like you. The super elite of the Saiyan race, reminded of his worth by a worm. It's a scar I will no longer let fester. I refuse to. Yes, I do acknowledge what you gave me. I cannot deny it. But that is a fate worse than death for our people. To have our identity defined by another. I can no longer be Darkseid's knight, but I cannot even be myself. For everything I am is now thanks to you.
Because I surpassed ya? Because of my friends? I just don't get it, Vegeta.
You ignorant fool! You begged for my life to be spared, as though I was a helpless child! The last of my royal blood, my agency, stolen once again. Darkseid at least understood what he was doing. You stole everything with a smile on your face the entire time! For that, Kakarot, is why I am going to kill you.
All right, try it.
Kakarot powered up into his Super Saiyan form as well. Or he tried to. Instead of an aura of power, he was gripped by a sharp pain across his body, as blood came trickling from his lips.
No! Just a little longer. Please!
The Saiyan fell to his knees, Vegeta's eyes widening in shock and confusion at what was happening. Kakarot was coughing violently now, blood spurting from his mouth, his complexion turning deathly pale. and his arm going numb. He was having a heart attack, one well overdue given how recklessly he pushed his body today. He knew, the entire time, he knew he was cutting his life short. But Kakarot would rather live as he wanted to than die a slow death without pushing himself. Vegeta rushed Kakarot, headbutting him, punching him, slamming his face to the ground, and then putting his boot over the Saiyan's head.
You were healed from today's battle. What is the meaning of this?
Yes. I can't hide it. I'm dying, Vegeta. Been sick for a couple of months now. I ain't got much time left. I wanted to give you your fight before I couldn't anymore.
My fight? My fight? You dare! Pity, after everything I told you! You disgust me, Kakarot, in every aspect.
Vegeta slammed his foot down on the head even more, and then kicked him in the ribs until he got bald.
My triumph shall not be tainted by the fact that you're dying. No, I won't have it. You need to beat this, Kakarot. You need to beat this and face me at your full power. I won't accept anything else. Our battle cannot be reduced into a suicide pact. The Saiyan race deserves a better end.
I'm sorry, Vegeta. I'm sorry.
You're too stubborn to fall to this. Pick yourself up and rise from this pain. Only then will I grant you a warrior's end. A true Saiyan death.
Vegeta flew away with a heavy heart, leaving Kakarot alone, suffering through his entire body, burning alive. But he could survive it, just barely. And when he felt strong enough to get up, he called the Cloud Somersault to take him home. The chance for the two Super Saiyans to have their fated rematch seemed to have vanished in the winds of that historic battleground.
The Princess of the Amazons stared out from the shore towards the sunrise. She'd waited up all night after Vegeta and Kakarot left the tournament together. Steve Trevor had promised to stay awake with her, but he'd fallen asleep hours ago. The beams of the rising sun reflected off the sea, and then something brighter emerged in the distance. The Prince of all Saiyans, burning brighter than the sun itself in his Super Saiyan form. He landed on the sand and released the strain of his transformation in a burst of aura.
Ah! Damn, that's some bugle.
Diana smirked at Steve's remark, his sense of humor always breaking through even her darkest moments. But worry washed back over her as she scanned Vegeta. He was sweating, breathing heavily. His knuckles were bruised, and there was blood on his feet, sinking into the sand.
You did it, didn't you? You killed him.
The prince remained silent. His outrage was spent. After Kakarot's revelation, his anger had exploded like a bomb. He'd spent hours after their encounter screaming into the void. Vegeta had always found Kakarot and Diana's use of weapons trivial. His hands were the only weapons he ever needed. He moved them faster than ever before, firing hundreds of ki blasts into a mountain range, reducing it to ash. But that wasn't enough for the prince. He charged up his Gallic gun and fired it at the ocean, splitting the Pacific until the beam left the Earth. Yet his rage persisted, so he charged up even more. He pulled more and more power from himself, till he had nothing left. And he thought about what to do with this monumental beam of energy. What to do with all this anger between his fingers. He had nothing left. The power vanished as quickly as it came, and Vegeta went back to the only place he had.
He lives. For now.
The Saiyan walked away as relief washed over Diana. Steve came up to her as they watched Vegeta head towards the palace.
You see, Diana, I told you. You were right about him. You're always right. I'm seeing it myself. Guy's cocky as can be, but if he's got something to focus on, he comes around.
I know, Steve, but he's focused on Kakarot. I'm not sure he can still grow when those two bring out the worst of each other. He needs time. He needs a long time.
I'm sorry, guys, but I'm just a bit worn out today. I don't think I'd be very good to spar against right now. You two need someone you can go all out on. Whenever I needed a good fight, I'd just head over to Metropolis. But things have been pretty quiet there. Where could we find you two a good fight?
I believe I could assist.
Bruce kicked trees. I could kick a tree.
I, don't want to hurt Miss... Planets don't have gender, right? Your friend, Mogo.
The thought is appreciated. But I had something else in mind, friend Gohan.
From the glowing green knot on Mogo's trunk came several humanoid forms. Blank-faced, green constructs of fighters. The construct dummies circled around Gohan and Cassandra and began to attack the pair. Cassandra handled them with a grace that would have looked foreign to her 9 months ago. Her style had evolved from the surgical efficiencies taught to her by Bruce and her father, David CAIN. Gohan's growing strength turned the constructs to glimmering dust. The boy hardly had to do more than power up to scatter the energy dummies away.
Come on, Mo! You gave me way tougher glowy guys when I trained on ya!
If you insist.
Energy burst from the tree again, and this time, constructs of aliens from all over the universe were formed. Malicious hunters, terrifying beasts with multiple mouths, barbarians with rigid foreheads, war machines filled with hate, and many more strange creatures the planet had come across in its 9 billion years of life. The students of Kakarot Kent were put to the test now, and still, they pushed through. Now working together, Cassandra spotted weaknesses in the movements of their opponents, and instructed Gohan precisely where to hit to end them. Gohan analyzed the mechanics of the tech-based creatures and helped Cassandra to disarm them. In no time at all, an army's worth of alien creatures fell before the two fighters.
Okay, Mogo. I think that's enough of a warm-up for them.
Warm-up?
Agreed. These creatures reside deep within my darkest caves. If it proves too much, just yell to stop. I wouldn't want to hurt you.
Halfway across the country in Gateway City, the royal pair, Vegeta and Wonder Woman, and Argus liaison Steve Trevor fought off yet another odd grouping of supervillains. Diana had learned from failures of the past and directed her allies more appropriately this time. Steve Trevor was handling the monstrous King Shark, while Vegeta fought the latest mechanical creation of Toyman. The Amazon, however, was pushing back against a mental assault from Dr. Psycho. The Golden Perfect kept Diana from falling under his control, but his psychic attacks still allowed him glances into her mind. Wonder Woman saw flashes of her teammates at their weakest. Martian Manhunter surrounded by fire. Wally West reeling back from an explosion. Kakarot surrounded by needles and surgical equipment. Diana would not let these images of her friends in peril paralyze her. She focused her mind and was able to overpower the chauvinist psychic. The Princess of the Amazons wrapped Psycho in the lasso of truth and confronted him.
It took me weeks to unravel your so-called Get Alpha course for the mind control plot, but now you'll never be able to force women to you or your client's will again.
And I would have gotten away with 2 of those meddling Amazons than their damn beta males.
Toyman's mech crumbled to the ground next to the defeated Psycho, its pilot ejecting from the craft only to be snatched out of the air by Vegeta, who tossed him to the ground at Wonder Woman's feet.
Ah, so do I get a refund then?
Toyman received his answer as King Shark, the business manager of their schemes, joined his defeated allies on the ground.
Enjoy the next 40 minutes of sensory overload thanks to this aerosol spray the boys at Argus worked up. I call it shark repellent.
Things looked to be all wrapped up for the trio when Kakarot Kent suddenly appeared on the scene.
Kakarot?
'Tis I, your teammate and rival, Kent Kakarot, the Monkey King of Metropolis. I have unlocked a new form of Saiyan power. Witness what is to go even further. Beyond!
Sorry this one took so much longer than the others. I haven't had much occasion to use this one. I call it...
Wait! Was
blown to pieces in a muddy explosion by a ki blast from Vegeta.
You mock our noble legends by imaging such a mockery of Saiyan evolution!
Your hair does seem to get longer when you transform.
I kinda like the whole forehead thing. Looked cool.
Silence! I will not have the ultimate potential of the Saiyan race made into a laughingstock. The battle is over. It is time to depart.
The battle is over, yes, but there remains much work to be done.
Diana gestured to the path of destruction Vegeta's battle with Toyman's mech had left behind. The Saiyan was beside himself in disbelief. He'd been promised challenges, not to become a custodian. In his mind, Vegeta had saved the people of the city from the rampaging robot. Why should he have to clean up after it too? But Wonder Woman told the prince that taking care of the people after a battle was often the most rewarding, yet hardest part of a fight. She also said it would make for a good learning experience for Vegeta. Maybe cleaning up his own mess would teach him to take care in the next fight, to limit collateral damage instead of brazenly causing it. But to help show the prince the ropes of super battle damage control, Wonder Woman called in the League member who did it the most.
Hey, Mighty Joe Young.
A very old bike wheeled its way to the area Kakarot and his students were training, making its owner's presence known with 2 rings of a bell.
Are you making another mess again, Skychild?
Master! It's been ages!
Only as long as it needed to be. I heard you made my brother. Apologies about that.
Kakarot brought his pupils to meet his first true master, I Ching, the blind martial artist who had taught him everything he knew about the concepts of ki. Kakarot tried to inform his master of all the things he had done and accomplished since that meeting, but I Ching seemed quite dismissive, instead focusing on the two children staring at him with curiosity.
Gohan and Cassandra.
Wait, how do you know our names?
Yes. How?
It's weird, right? He knows all kinds of things. I bet he could teach all three of us.
I'm on vacation. I assume Kakarot has taught you how to make orange juice. It has been a long journey.
Well, no actually.
I'll go make some now, okay?
That would be good. Try and avoid getting the little bits in the drink.
This pattern would continue for the next few days. I Ching's time at the farm included him relaxing, playing his sitar badly, engaging Mogo in board games that used to belong to Martha Kent, and falling asleep. Kakarot pestered him relentlessly at first, wishing to have his master comment on Super Saiyan, Wrath, and every new technique he'd picked up. But I Ching always changed the subject, insisting that he was relaxing, and asked his pupil for a drink or some food. This led Cass and Gohan to gain a bit of a negative opinion on the old man, viewing him as lazy, and not liking their own respected master being treated like a child. Still, they gave him enough respect to keep to themselves and resurrect their usual training routines. That is, until Gohan, after getting knocked aside by one of Mogo's constructs, landed next to the old man's deck chair, panting in exhaustion.
Careful, almost spilled over my drink.
Oh, come on, keep the commentary to yourself, old man. I'm not gonna let you walk all over me. I don't care who you are.
I thought Superboy cared about everyone.
I do, but that's not what I meant. Ah!
You are just as stubborn as your father. I'll just say this, and I'm on vacation, so you didn't hear this from me. You'll throw a much faster punch if you don't clench your fist so tightly.
Superboy flew off to intercept one of Mogo's attacks, the words of I Ching echoing in his mind, but mostly filled with annoyance at the old man's tone. He wasn't used to these spiritual types, having been raised by scientists. It was uncomfortable for him to get into that headspace. As the training session ended, Gohan was totally wiped out. Only Cassandra was able to still move and wipe herself off. Kakarot seemed to be even more tired than Gohan, despite taking a much more measured pace to this training.
Woo! Super Saiyan sure is great, but man, if it doesn't eat up stamina, it's getting much worse the stronger we get, huh, Gohan?
Yes, wait, is that the problem?
Huh? What's up?
Mr. Kakarot, do we need anger to be Super Saiyans?
Well, I do at least. I always have to think of that moment.
But you don't do that when you fight in your normal form?
Oh, nah, it's a lot easier for me to just focus on the fight.
Do you think we could, and this is just the hypothesis, find a way to be like that? As a Super Saiyan?
Kakarot's eyes widened up, not only out of surprise, as Gohan had found a much simpler way of phrasing something that had been on his mind ever since his days training with Mogo, but also at the boy, despite lacking the passion for fighting shared by Kakarot and Cassandra, having such a measured insight into the craft. Perhaps that was the key. Gohan wasn't as close to it as Kakarot was. He didn't get lost in the thrill of fighting. He could look at Super Saiyan and how they fought objectively.
I think if we work on it together, we can do anything. Alright then, how about I try to do what you do? Then we can just stop using our emotions in the extreme. I'll show you what I feel like in my normal state, and you tell me how it feels to be Super Saiyan all the time.
Yes, that could work.
I Ching smiled as the words echoed in his ears. He had helped nudge the boy in the right direction. Maybe because it reminded him of those glorious years spent with Kakarot, some sense of sentimentality, and he owed him one for all Yang. But the real trick was making Kakarot move on from his own teaching, and ensuring that martial arts would continue to evolve in ways beyond even I Ching's imagination.
I think he's finally moved beyond me. You must feel the same way, young planet.
Indeed, Eternal Master.
The cleanup of Gateway City commenced. The Scarlet Speedster managed to work with all the same enthusiasm that made him so famous back home in Central City. Vegeta tried to muddle through doing as little as possible, allowing Flash to do all the heavy lifting. But after kissing Steve Trevor goodbye, Wonder Woman interrupted the two's mismatched efforts, asking Wally to slow down and show Vegeta how to remove debris instead of just doing it for him. This ended up working quite well for the pair. Instead of Wally running large pieces of concrete across town to the landfill, Vegeta suggested just blowing them up in the upper atmosphere. So Flash began to fling blocks of rubble high into the air, charging them with Speed Force energy as Vegeta blasted them into dust like clay pigeons. Diana rolled her eyes at the fact they just turned what was meant to be a valuable lesson into a game of skeet.
Pull! Coming up!
However, the problem worked itself out as soon as they ran out of rubble to demolish, and the three were left with the harder work of rebuilding. The Saiyan Prince could hardly turn that into a training routine. Or so Diana thought. Before Wonder Woman had realized it, Wally and Vegeta were rushing about with wheelbarrows and hand tools, reworking busted walls and shattered windows. It seemed any task she put the prince to, he found some way to turn it into either a competition or training, or both. So instead of constantly fighting against it, she pulled Wally to the side and asked him to help encourage it. So the speedster took his foot off the brakes and began to repair buildings and streets faster than the prince could comprehend. But rather than try to keep up, a different aspect of Vegeta's personality came to light. The prince began to critique and rework all of Wally's quick repairs.
Hey, I just fixed that stretch of road!
Yes, and now I'm repairing it correctly! A street is meant to be level if you were unaware.
Is that why Central City doesn't let you help, Wally? You always told me it was because they didn't want to feel like they were asking too much of you. But can you not do the work at city standards?
Hey, oh man, I feel so dumb. Honestly, none of this work sticks in my head for long. I always just run to the library and learn how to do it and make it happen before I forget. I hope I'm not doing too bad a job.
The trio continued to help rebuild the city. The attention to detail of Vegeta and the speed of the Flash meaning they'd move beyond all the damage from the battle very quickly and began to fix potholes and other infrastructure around the city that had been neglected. As the Flash raced about helping, a group of children ran to see one of the heroes of the Justice League in person. They gathered around Wally in a joyous manner, but suddenly ran away with a shriek when Vegeta came to talk to the speedster. Wally noticed the look of annoyance come across Vegeta's face and prepared to try and build a bridge between the prince and these kids, but he found it unnecessary as an old man came down from his porch and spoke to the children.
Hey now, don't be rude. I've been watching these two all day. That young man's been just as much help as a quick one. You go say thank you to them both now.
The kids cautiously approached the Flash and Vegeta again, meekly thanking the pair without looking up at them before running off. The Flash looked over to the old man.
Hey, thanks for that. I thought the president had just about turned everyone in the world against Curious George over here. Glad to see someone's giving the guy a chance.
Worked for a lot of bosses in my time. Never thought any of them should be president. Luthor's just another boss as far as I can tell. If he hates your friend there, guy must be okay. Boss is always wrong about something.
Given I'm responsible for the slaughter of your people, do you still imagine him being wrong?
You didn't just kill my people. My son died in Bloodhaven. He's back now though. We all got a past. What matters is what you do in the now. Holding a grudge don't do any good.
The sane prince stared at the elderly gentleman. He felt a temptation to make some kind of sly remark, a retort to keep up his defensive barrier. But there was something about the genuine kindness of this man that cut through him. For the first time since he had heard Diana speak of love and kindness, it clicked for the prince. It wasn't some act, not some method of getting what you want. It was something more. He couldn't quite place what, though. As a sign of respect, the prince nodded at the old man, Wonder Woman looking on from a distance.
It took a long time, but it took as long as he needed it to.
The princess smiled as she felt a tug at her leg and looked down to see a small girl peering up at the Amazon from her knees.
Hola, little sister. Why have the gods crossed our paths today?
Gohan and Kakarot were sitting beside each other, a little further out from the farm than they usually trained. They needed to be away from anything distracting. They needed total peace. The sound of crickets surrounding them at all sides. The harmony of the wind flowing through the crops enveloped them. Dew droplets falling onto the ground echoed at the edge of their consciousness. Kakarot's mind flashed through all the battles he had gone through till now, each of them won only by his determination and rage. But it failed him now. It was killing him just staying in this state for as long as he had, and he wasn't sure how long he could hold out before letting Gohan know. But he had to try. He had to make sure he could teach the boy everything he knew before he was gone. With his initial plan of death by Vegeta no longer in the cards, this was Kakarot's only other solution. And it was making the end come faster than he expected. Darkness now replaced all the sounds surrounding Kakarot. The pure pitch black of defeat. Then, suddenly, he saw Lady Shiva. Her dangerous smile, her piercing glare. Was it Shiva? Or did she stand for the path he'd walked on all this time? The path of martial arts. Beside her, he saw Cassandra and Gohan. These two children. He cared for them and was so proud of them both. He hadn't had enough time with either of them. How could he abandon them when there were still so many more adventures left? They were waiting on him, trusting him, to make sure they were ready to face any threats that would come to the Earth. If he couldn't break through this barrier, he was condemning them to failure. That's when he realized.
No! It's still rage! At myself!
Kakarot looked over to his son, and was shocked to find that the boy was in an even deeper state of meditation, his Super Saiyan hair flowing down and turning black.
I feel... Wow. I'm so happy! Mr. Kakarot! Am I normal now?
Kakarot pulled Gohan into a hug and let the young Saiyan release all the built-up emotions his Super Saiyan form had stopped him from expressing before.
Hey, it's okay, Gohan. Don't worry. You really are a lot better than me, ain't ya?
Huh?
That whole feeling stuff. You feel it with your whole heart. Maybe it's because I hit my head around that spot of dirt right there when I was just a baby. Or maybe because I'm a Saiyan. But I always kinda just switch from one emotion to the other on the fly. I don't feel them like you do. I guess I'm not a very good person, huh?
It makes you strong, though. I'm too soft.
Nah, I'm proud of you, Gohan. I'm happy you're so sensitive. You're a really good person. You're gonna change the whole world one day. More than I ever could, that's for sure.
Mr. Kakarot.
Now come on! I'm starving! Let's get some food!
Okay. Are you going to power down now?
Kakarot looked up and touched his hair. It was still Super Saiyan. And he hadn't even noticed. He wasn't in pain anymore. Though his rage was gone completely, the golden power was still there. His Super Saiyan energy continued to flow, fueled not by momentary anger or his ego, but by a deeper, purer emotion that didn't ebb or wane. The feeling he felt when holding and consoling his son. The flames still raged around him, but he didn't feel them. His golden aura pushed them away smoothly, now flowing, unhindered, and effortless. The barrier was gone. Once again, Kakarot's limits had been broken. Back in Gateway City, Wonder Woman and Vegeta were flying high above the skyscrapers, while Flash darted between buildings. The little girl that asked Wonder Woman for help claimed her friend Olive had vanished and no one could find her. It took some convincing, but Diana finally managed to get Vegeta on board to search for the girl. But after a while of searching, they had little luck, until Wonder Woman remembered going on a similar mission with Kakarot. Kakarot had been able to sense a single soul in a vast wilderness, just by focusing. Certainly Vegeta, being a Saiyan too, could manage the same feat.
That skill is new to me.
But you can do it?
Only for strong powers. A small child will hardly register above the rest of the rabble.
Back home, you could sense Steven's fear of you. You used it against him. A child is lost in this concrete jungle. She must feel terrified. Certainly you can sense something as strong as that.
It was Trevor's smell, but they're not dissimilar. Fine, I shall attempt the clown's trick. If it's something Kakarot can do, then I will simply surpass him by executing it better.
Vegeta closed his eyes and focused his mind, reaching out across the city, finally pushing the limits of this key sensing power he'd learnt from his battle on Earth. And as soon as the prince opened his mind, no, his soul, to sense everything, he sensed everything. At first the surface, the most extreme examples, the pain and anger of those in this one city. But instantaneously, it went deeper than that. He felt the joy, the love in the hearts of those below him. It was overwhelming to reach out and touch the lives of others. He kept reaching, focusing more, growing deeper in spiritual thought. This was the exact opposite of everything he had ever learned. Then, his mind wandered to the darkness.
There is only one force in the universe. One power. One will. Speak it.
Dark side is.
Dark side is. Dark side is.
Correct. Individuality is a lie. You've come far under my tutelage. The time is upon you to spread the will of Darkseid out into the universe, to eliminate the guise of free will from the cosmos and replace it with the one truth of creation. Speak it.
Darkseid is.
Darkseid is. Darkseid is.
The memory stirred a rage within Vegeta, the true scope of the lies he'd been raised under now breaking down before him. And it was this sudden burst of rage that let him connect to the heart of a small, lost child in a dark city. The prince shot off towards what he sensed, leaving a golden trail of energy for Wonder Woman and Flash to hastily follow. As suddenly as he'd flown off, Vegeta came to a stop, causing the Amazon and the Scarlet Speedster to circle back to his position. The prince pointed down at a wide park, and at a small child who climbed up a tree for the night.
I must have run past her 100 times. Didn't think to look up at all.
She must be so scared right now.
No. She's burning. Her rage lights up that tree like it's ablaze.
Wonder Woman looked to her ally. It seemed that sensing the girl had sparked something in Vegeta, and though it was still against her better judgment, as it always was with the prince, Diana knew there was only one person who could go help the girl. The question was whether or not she'd be up to this task.
Your form is born from rage. You claim she shares it. Can you calm her mind so we can take her home?
Vegeta didn't even look at Diana as he floated down towards the tree, the light from his aura casting dancing shadows about the park. The child looked up and attempted to climb down, but he vanished and reappeared in front of her.
You've been found. Now prepare to be taken home.
Fuck that! Leave me alone!
Vegeta was shocked at the brazen remark from the child, his aura cutting away briefly, the shock on his face, and the sudden pop of ki causing the girl to reel back in fear, losing her grip on the branch and falling from the tree. Before she could hit the ground, Vegeta moved and caught her by the arm. He lowered her gently to the ground, but kept hold of her wrist, not too tightly, but wanting to make sure she wouldn't run off. She tugged a few times, then stopped, and looked at the Saiyan with tears in her eyes.
I don't want to go home! I'm running away!
Well, you've managed well so far. I'm the only one who could find you. I ran away once too. Inform me why you're running, and if I like your reason enough, I'll let you go.
My brother, Derek. He's mean. He held me down and spit in my eye. I don't want to live there anymore.
So you're just going to flee? Have some pride. You should go back and show strength.
But he's so much bigger than me. I'm little and not big. I can't beat him up.
Hit him in the throat then. Doesn't matter how big they are, everyone needs to breathe.
The girl looked up in shock. Every adult she'd gone to about this had told her useless platitudes, that was just how older brothers were, that she should just deal with it and keep on. But here, she'd been given a strategy. She nodded her head at the prince. He bent down and scooped her up, taking directions to her house.
That was...
horrifying?
Well, yes, that too. But I was going to say sweet.
While I Ching and Mogo enjoyed their regular board game session, Kakarot, Cass, and Gohan were having a movie night. Cassandra's pick. This was in fact a new form of training, as the two Saiyans were now staying in Super Saiyan, trying to acclimate to being in the state with no drawbacks. Gohan, however, hadn't been doing it in the same way as Kakarot. He had found his base form. This had been an incredible relief. The boy slept in most days and skipped a lot of training. but it did wonders for his mental health. The rage in his mind and conditioning no longer at the forefront, fading into the background as he was able to breathe in peace. Kakarot did insist that he varied between Super Saiyan and his normal form in order to master it like he was doing, but he was mostly just keeping the young Saiyan on the right track. Superboy was in truth much further along than even his master.
Luke, you do not yet realize your importance. You have only begun to discover your power.
Cassandra looked up at Kakarot. She'd seen this moment countless times. She knew what was coming up, and without realizing it, she was raising some questions of her own. Kakarot had shown her such kindness, and they were so similar in so many different ways. And that night, when Shiva was here,
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
David Cain had raised her to be a weapon. For so long, she just assumed he was her biological father.
No, I am your father.
But maybe it didn't have to be that way. What if she didn't have to be doomed by blood? She wouldn't have to view herself as a mistake, a baby born only to be a tool.
It's not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Whoa! He's his paw? But he's not even a robot guy!
I was raised in a lab and I knew about this. How weren't you spoiled?
After the film, the trio headed to bed, but Cassandra was struggling to clear her mind of the thought. All night, she stared up at the ceiling, searching her feelings, hoping that this hunch could be right. After the morning's training, she would ask Kakarot, even if it meant being wrong, being kicked out of the farm, abandoned, and hurt again. She had to know.
Does he have a moustache?
I do not know.
You two still playing that game, huh? Neat. Want to see me and Gohan try something out?
Go ahead. Neither of us are going to win this.
Kakarot and Gohan readied up next to each other, and on his mark, Gohan went from his base form to his Super Saiyan state, as Kakarot let his Super Saiyan aura appear. The two began to power up, but their expressions didn't change. They looked just like how they did in their base forms, but the power was mind-boggling. Their previous limits were burned away in their calm flame, as their energy raced further and further, seemingly without end.
Okay, that's enough. Great job.
Oh, but I didn't even get started though.
Now that's exciting.
Excuse me. Talk?
Oh, sure, Kaz. Sorry if you felt left out. I know I can only do this Saiyan stuff with Gohan. What's up?
Talk alone?
Cassandra held Kakarot by the hand, leaving a confused Gohan to return to his base state, and hang out with I Ching and Mogo.
What's the matter? I didn't mean to focus only on Gohan, but there is something I want to test you on.
No, not that. My mother.
Shiva, right? I was pretty surprised when I found that out. She can be pretty mean sometimes.
Yes, but then you. Are you my father?
Huh? Oh, nope. I think you were born way before me and Shiva ever did the baby-making thing.
I see. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to be your father? Because, Kaz, I think you'd be the best kid.
Cassandra's eyes were on the verge of tears at such a sudden, genuine display of honest affection, and she leaped into Kakarot's arms for a hug, the gentle Saiyan spinning her around, then consoling her with a pat on the head. They were an unlikely pair. Despite having no blood ties, they had already forged the bond of a father and his daughter. Bruce's plan had finally come to fruition. He had ensured, all that time ago, that she would always have a father.
Thank you. Thank you, Father.
Now I've got a daughter and a son. That's pretty crazy. I guess I gotta get you a gift to make up for all the birthdays. I gave Gohan some Super Saiyan training and a name, but I think I got just the thing.
Kakarot puffed up his chest and then whistled, summoning his Cloud Somersault and placing his Ryu Jingu Bang on top of it. He was sentimental about his trusted companions, but knew that if he was going to die soon, even with this new mastered Super Saiyan giving him more time, there was only one person who deserved to wield them.
I got these when I was a little younger than you, but they helped me take down a lot of stronger guys. I think they'd help you too.
Wow, so cool! Thank you, Father. Dad. My pa.
You're really excited about that. Well then, go take him for a spin.
With a nod, Cassandra hopped on top of the cloud and with a dramatic flurry, blasted out the front door, did a circle around Gohan, Mogo and I Ching, then took off to the sky. Gohan, in excitement, followed her for a little bit, before even he lost track of how fast she was looping circles around the boy. Kakarot looked up, saw that she wasn't even looking. All that skill was finally paired with what he was trying to teach her. She was sensing ki without even realizing it. The acceptance of Kakarot as her adoptive father had unlocked the last mental barrier in her mind.
Hey, Kaz! What do you feel up there?
I can feel, sense, everything. Wow, this energy.
With a target in mind, Cassandra flew towards a very familiar energy source, driving through the mountains of Gotham.
Is there no one left who can light a fire in the heart of the air to the bat? All my foes have fallen before me with ease. I wish for a true challenge, but it is impossible.
Woohoo!
What? Cassandra Cain.
Hey, I'm Cassandra Kakarot now.
She believes she can challenge me to a race while riding a cloud? Interesting.
Whee!
That cornering is ridiculous. Does she have a death wish, or does she trust her machine that much?
Yay! Woohoo!
But this turn will show whose machine is superior. Here it comes.
Yay!
Back in Gateway City, Vegeta dropped little Olive off at her home. He watched as the girl ran inside, straight past terrified parents, and decked her older brother straight in the throat. The boy falling to the ground instantly as she began to kick him. The prince smiled as he turned to see Flash and Wonder Woman approach. Diana smiled at the prince before going to do damage control with Olive's family. She'd ensure that this incident wouldn't need to repeat itself.
That was honestly pretty cool. You're coming around, man. I'm happy to see it.
That doesn't mean anything. If I'm lucky, she'll keep improving and I'll have a challenge one day.
Yeah, sure. Speaking of, back when we fought, you laid me out good, but you said if I knew how to fight, I would have been more dangerous. Did you mean that?
Your speed is unprecedented, but you use it like a buffoon. If you focused your attacks better, you'd be near unstoppable.
Thanks, I think. Listen, while you're preparing future challengers and all, would you maybe teach me a few things? Kakarot's tried in the past, but he's all into spiritual mumbo-jumbo. I think you're more my speed.
You would be a good target to learn to hit. Why not? But don't expect me to go easy on you.
Wouldn't dream of it.
As Wonder Woman came back to join the pair, she felt a sense of happiness in the air. Maybe they'd finally turned a final corner. But Vegeta gasped. His mood changed as soon as he could feel it. Gohan and Kakarot's display of power. Their attempt to push themselves. He was sensing it now, and it overshadowed him in ways he could scarcely imagine. Suddenly, the prince was filled with a new rage. This had all been a distraction. He had wasted so much time on this meaningless display. Darkseid was right.
What's wrong?
While I've fretted my time away with you two, I'm being surpassed by a corpse!
At that, the prince shot off towards the horizon. He would not let this stand. He'd train, and he'd catch back up with what he just felt. He had to. He'd waste no more energy on fruitless exercises like he had today. His focus could not be stolen again. The prince raced across the night sky as a new moon was born.
I won't die here. Even if you destroy my body, what I fight for will live on.
And we'll kill that, too. Maybe I'll use your mace to do it after I pry it from your charred corpse.
The battle had been raging for over an hour. HAWKGIRL was ambushed while flying over the redwood forests. Blackfire had knocked her down to the forest ground, and she'd been attacked left and right by traps from Nimrod the Hunter. Flying out proved impossible because of the close quarters created by the trees and the intense gravitational forces generated by black mass. Kendra's vision blurred as blood dripped down her face. Her mace-swinging arm was useless. There was nothing she could do.
This should wrap it up. Time for a big one, then I'll take my souvenir. So very kind for a broken little bird.
Blackfire cupped her hands together and fired an energy blast that tore through the cave, expanding and completely engulfing HAWKGIRL. But she wasn't focused on the blast. No. Her mind was only on one thing. Her family. The birth had been complicated, leaving the child weak. Manhunter had taken the boy to the stars, finding help back on Thanagar. Kendra chose to stay behind, as the growing threats were too great to ignore. And now, she was never going to see her baby again.
No, no, goddammit!
The blast vanished, then was replaced by a burning aura around HAWKGIRL. She had broken past her limits at the cost of her body, and absorbed every last drop of Blackfire's energy.
You want my mace? Fine!
In a burst of pure rage, HAWKGIRL's mace slammed against Blackfire's jaw, creating a new crater deep into the earth. Nimrod and Black Mass were completely off guard. They never expected HAWKGIRL to be capable of something like this. With nothing but pain and fury in her mind, HAWKGIRL darted towards the two, and in a circular spin of her wings, sliced them both in one quick motion, ending them. Blackfire rose from her crater, eyes flaring with anger.
You damn thief! She said you'd be dead already! This isn't fair! I'm the most powerful Tamaranian!
You're nothing. The energy you shot at me is a drop in the ocean next to a Super Saiyan. Look up a legend, bitch.
Blackfire bit her lip, then charged at HAWKGIRL in one desperate attack, meeting Kendra's full mace swing. Blackfire fell to the ground, dead. HAWKGIRL looked up as rain fell down on her face, washing away her blood.
You taught me that one, Kakarot. Never give up.
A lesson that has cost you dearly.
Kendra's eyes bulged, and her hand went to her throat, feeling the blood pouring from the gash in her neck. Talia al Ghul had used her sacred sword to cut Kendra's throat.
the cost of her pawns failing was an expected sacrifice.
It is too late to stop me now, but listen carefully to the voice of the Legion of Doom. My Legion. You are the first to fall, but you will not be the last in our war.
The mood was somber as Martian Manhunter walked through the doors of the Hall of Justice, days since Kendra's demise. Diana approached the Martian, preparing to tell him the tragic news.
I've known for days. Our soul-mind connection traversed light years. The League lost 2 members. Her death was my own. I can't.
Diana brought John into a hug. They would grieve for now, but there was still work to be done. Heroes and villains across the world were vanishing. Kendra was the first body they found, and the League needed to get to the bottom of it. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom headquarters, the daughter of the demon addressed the rousing complaints about the seeming failures of their efforts. Her reply began as her father had taught her, with force, as she slammed the mace of the deceased HAWKGIRL onto the table like a gavel, breaking the solid metal sheet like it was glass.
You bicker before me and complain about results, about petty victories. A member of the Justice League is dead, and you cannot even comprehend that is but the smallest victory we've achieved.
What results? My kingdom is still recovering from your demonstration, and you only have a bird to show for over a year of toil.
That is hardly all we have to show. Our mission revealed the weaknesses of the Prince. The Lunar Lab's teleportation technology is now within our hands. Technology we can now use to come and go from the League's hall at will, thanks to the efforts of Nigma. Your display has revealed to us the limits, or lack thereof, of the Super Saiyan form. Information we were able to exploit during the attack at the White House. Any grievances with that can be taken up with President Superman. A grievance you can now enforce, because we have peered into the mind of Wonder Woman to discover their every weakness. HAWKGIRL is merely the first of these so-called heroes to fall. She shall not be the last.
Fine, your tactical moves are of note, but what is this building toward?
Our final move for control shall begin now, Dr. Isley. Let us take control of every mind on this planet.
Taking control of them all is the only way to save Mother Earth. Our goals align. The fruits of my labor are yours to share.
Back at the Hall of Justice, Kakarot was using his key sensing to try and track down the missing heroes. At first, Diana had asked Vegeta to use the same power he tapped into in Gateway City, but the prince was still too inexperienced and lacked the proper focus.
It's fine, buddy. I'll do it and walk you through so you can learn too.
I don't require your assistance, clown.
See, you just close your eyes and feel them up. I can find anyone like this. Who am I looking for, Diana?
Both Green Arrow and Jason Blood have not reported in for days. Arthur's brother has also vanished from his prison in Atlantis.
The martial artist described every sensation he was experiencing in vivid detail, encouraging the prince to try and attune with the natural energy of the planet and join him. Begrudgingly, Vegeta attempted the same, but he was having trouble clearing his mind while being frustrated standing next to Kakarot. Something was off. All he could feel was a gleeful, unbalanced chaos approaching. He tried to go deeper and identify what this key was, but then the Saiyan began to...
What's funny?
What? I wasn't laughing!
A massive knock pounded on the Hall of Justice door. The League broke their concentration on the two Saiyans to see Harley Quinn standing at the front door. The clown had a large letter she was waving back and forth over her head.
The League surrounded her in an instant, Green Lantern encasing the gymnast in a solid sphere. After suffering one loss, they weren't taking any chances.
Harley, you were making progress. Joker's been off the map for a while. You've been improving. What's going on?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me, man! Mr. J and I are back together, and I've never been so happy. He was really down after the other B-Man died. No offense or nothing, he just sucked compared to old Grumpy. But now Mr. J is so happy. We've courted a group of new friends, and it's all for him!
To everyone's surprise, Harley pointed to Vegeta. The prince rolled his eyes in annoyance. He'd grown tired of the tricks of these low-level Earth villains. But his attention was captured as Quinn began to read the letter she'd been holding out loud.
Hear ye. In honor of the great prince of the Saiyan people, my love Mr. J has sent this here resume to be a part of your royal court. I'm here as his beautiful assistant to present you with his cover letter and credentials from the desk of the Joker. Your Highness, I mean this of course in the royal sense. It has come to my attention.
It has come to my attention how rudely you've been treated while visiting our quaint little planet. I simply cannot allow it to continue. To think a member of the monarchy sat away in squalor? The shame this has filled me with is immense. But don't you worry, for in good old Gothamshire, I have prepared for you a proper court, fit for a prince. It is my most humble request that you come grace my new friends with your presence. And if you would do me the honor, take up residence within our grand walls. Extend to me the grace to live out a true dream of mine, and I would be most ecstatic to serve as your jester, my liege. Attached to this letter, please find my credentials, which I'm sure you'll see are both humorous and regal. Yours forever, the Joker.
After finishing the letter, Harley then handed the prince a packet of photographs, each one of them containing a shot of the missing heroes and villains. The League was tense enough as is, but dealing with whatever Joker had planned was the last thing they needed. Still, they were the Justice League. However, Kakarot suddenly felt a great disturbance across the world, one that sent a chill down his spine.
No! Mogo?
A gigantic tremor was felt by the heroes, as across the entire planet, massive roots were emerging from beneath the ground, tearing apart cities, ripping tectonic plates in half, and releasing mind-controlling spores that blanketed the people unfortunate to breathe them in. Kakarot informed the rest of the League what was happening, and the connection to Mogo.
Wait, Mogo popping up all over the universe was you? That explains that. What the hell are they doing? The Mogo I know would never lose control.
Their key! It's so poisoned!
Ivy, is this part of Joker's game?
What, Red's acting up? No way, B-Man. I ain't even spoke to her in months. Mr. J and Red don't even like each other.
So someone is using the other to split us up. Smart. Annoying, but smart. What's our next move?
We are besieged on all sides, but that has never stopped us before. We shall divide and conquer. Flash, Green Lantern, and MERA, I ask that you combat these roots across the planet. Protect the Earth as best you can. Kakarot, you must return home. Save your friend and stop Ivy's madness.
If Red's trying to mess up Mr. J's big day, then I want to come and help stop her.
Got it. What are you three gonna do?
We shall deal with the clown.
Of course I attract the attention of a weakling. This'll be over in no time. Do not forget our vow, Kakarot.
Yeah, I won't.
On Kent Farm, Cassandra and Gohan were demolishing legions of constructs from the Mogo tree. The foes they'd been challenged by over a month ago now fell before the students like training dummies. But Mogo
was no longer training the children. The planet was attempting to kill, as it protected the malicious poison ivy inside a dome of her new branches and leaves that served as a command point. After Cassandra slammed an enemy with the Ryujingu Bang into one of Gohan's energy blasts, the pair were relieved to see Kakarot appear on the scene. Kakarot told Harley to do whatever she needed to stop Ivy, as he prepared to fight his way to Mogo through the army of constructs.
I'm on it, Mr. K!
The clown winked at Kakarot and began to jump and flip her way over and around the army, making quick progress towards Ivy, while the three warriors formed up and charged forward. Cassandra and Gohan continued their combination attacks as Kakarot began to charge a Chaos Cannon to cut right to the heart of the tree. Since mastering Super Saiyan, his power was no longer halted, and this was his first real chance to let loose and go all out.
Cannon! Oh no.
A measly puff of smoke shot from Kakarot's fist as he felt his arm seize up and a massive weight build on his chest. He'd thought he'd pushed past it. He thought that mastering Super Saiyan was enough to hold back the virus. Leo had claimed going Super Saiyan was hastening the virus, so if he could eliminate the strain of Super Saiyan, it should have slowed the progress of the virus. And Kakarot had been right, but the damage had progressed too far. Super Saiyan or base form didn't matter now. The virus was destroying his heart at the same rate.
Oh, the budding demon's head said to expect this. A bit soon, but expect it all the same. Mogo, sweetheart, bring him to your mistress.
From the earth around Kakarot, a massive root shot up and enveloped him. Gohan and Cassandra were surprised by the sudden failing of their master and were caught off guard as the root smacked them both across the farm, while bringing Kakarot directly into the tree.
When I talked to Mogo, they said that there's a direct connection between the seed and the planet back home. If we can determine where that connection is and disrupt it, then we can stop the constructs and save Mr. Kakarot. You're better at the sensing thing than me, but I'm the only one strong enough to break the connection. Cass, I need you to show me where to hit it.
Cassandra focused her mind and felt the massive amount of life energy emanating from the tree. Deep within one small root, she could sense a connection, like a wire stretched across the universe. She pointed to that spot, and without hesitation, Gohan delivered a surgical strike which unbalanced the two. The constructs were stopped.
Hey, Red! Listen, I know the whole supervillain etiquette thing is kind of vague at best, but Mr. J had something big planned today, and I just can't let you ruin it for him.
Harley, how are you? Wait, you're back with him? Again?
He's been so sad ever since B-Man died. I think he's really making a positive change with this Vegeta guy. It'll be better this time. He hardly even hits me now. Come on, Red. Those kids already stopped the glowy army. This is over.
It hasn't even started. Lucky I have you, my little peach.
Ivy cupped her hands in the Kakarot's mouth as he coughed up blood. The villain breathed on the liquid and it began to writhe. Bacteria mixed with her pheromones and spores, gestating something unnatural. She poured the pulsating mass onto a low branch of the Mogo tree, where it caught and began to drip. The liquid hardened of the branch, forming a skin-like shell, and grew into a massive fruit on the mighty tree. It ballooned in seconds and ripened before dropping to the ground behind Gohan and Cassandra as a putrid grey hand burst from the fruit and a Saiyan crawled out.
Let us introduce you to my newest baby. I call him Turles.
If an army is nothing compared to a Saiyan,
how about a Super Saiyan?
Ugh, how garish. These colors don't match with Saiyan design at all, and the crest is upside down.
Not really the point right now. You realize he's not legit and this is a death trap, right?
Of course, but he could have at least greeted me with an armored squadron as is customary.
Oh no! No, no, no! I can't believe so much is wrong right away! 1,000 pardons, Your Majesty. I will have your new servants rectify things immediately. First, the colors. Next, the crest of my liege. So embarrassing to have gotten it upside down. But please, just understand there was no one around for me to ask. Luckily, this lovely piece was handcrafted by the finest artisans from across the land, all in tribute to you.
The Saiyan crest hanging high above the room began to spin around, briefly revealing the Joker standing in a doorway behind it. Dick, without a word, shot off towards the old foe, but before he could be aided by Wonder Woman and Vegeta, the next trap was sprung. A massive mirror lowered from the ceiling, and Diana somehow found herself caught on the other side of it. Alone, she checked her surroundings, only to see Mirror Master with a massive grin.
And as far as an armored squadron meant to greet you, well, I'm happy to report, dear Prince, that is just what I have in store.
From the mirror dropped the missing heroes and villains, Joker's court. But there was something wrong with them. They looked pale and seemed to do nothing but giggle. The entire court was completely under the Joker's control.
Now that's a Saiyan royal welcome!
Batman was pursuing the Joker, a tale as old as them both. Dick had had nightmares about this, now literally stuck in Bruce's old game.
You've never been interested in other heroes before. Why start now? I thought you'd retired. The British novelist gig didn't pan out. They are pretty harsh critics.
That was fun for a while. Yes. I actually did contemplate leaving all of this. You had things under control, and my time had passed with pointer ears the first. But then I saw New Hope. And well, I couldn't resist a good laugh.
You can't fight a Super Saiyan Joker. This isn't anything you've dealt with before.
Oh, little Robin, you never did understand. I fought Batman. The rest of this universe is an Elvis impersonator next to him, a fat one at that. Oh, I know how to make you understand. Let's have you fight a real Batman!
Vegeta's fist smashed into Guy Gardner's toothy grin, sending the Emerald Knight hurtling to the ground. Green Arrow and Merlin fired two miniature anti-metahuman bomb arrows towards Vegeta's blind spot, but the prince caught them both without even turning his head. The Royal Flush Gang was met with a surprise as Vegeta threw the arrows in their direction, then struck each and every one with a single rapid blow while they were launched into the air by the explosion. Orm charged at Vegeta with his trident, but the Saiyan was too fast, diving under the attack, then launching a kick directly to the Atlantean prince's jaw. Azrael, Knight and Squire all tried to rush the Saiyan, but were blown back as Vegeta pushed his ki out from his body in a shockwave. Jason Blood laughed manically at the display, to which Vegeta responded with an instantaneous kick to the gut, but the Jokerized Blood didn't stay there long enough to take any serious damage. Gone, gone, O form of man!
Arise, the demon, Etrigan!
The demon threw Vegeta back, causing the prince to smile.
You seem to have your senses, despite your disgusting exterior.
The Jester holds no sway over me, but I know that hell is your destiny. I shall vanquish you for my own sake, to ensure that no more souls will be yours to break.
Stating the obvious in rhyme.
Everyone on this planet has a damn gimmick.
Orm, King Shark, and Shining Knight all stood beside Etrigan and cackled enthusiastically at the approaching Super Saiyan. Dick pulled a detached fang from his shoulder and injected himself with one of the Joker toxin cures he kept on his belt. Man-Bat lay beaten on the ground, but the Dark Knight was worse for wear, covered in cuts.
Yeah, I definitely didn't miss this.
Let's see if we stop your arms working this time.
Babs? No, hold on!
Dick ran as fast as he could, faster than he ever ran before. The rooms around him started to twirl, but he fought it off. He had to stay focused. He had to save Barbara from that maniac. As he got to the end of the corridor, Batman saw a lone wheelchair, with what looked to be a red-headed woman sitting in it.
Barbara, are you okay? It's Batman.
No! You aren't! You aren't Batman! You're not my Batman! My Batman's gone.
The Clown Prince of Crime wiped his brow, and then straightened his appearance.
Sorry about that. Still too soon. But it's the truth, kiddo. You're never gonna be the old man. You care too much. He would have checked for a trap on the body first. God, I miss that paranoid pointy-eared bastard. Now then, the real show. Ooh, I'm nervous. Wish me luck? No, you're too kind. Well, let's get to it.
Vegeta's muscles bulged as his aura expanded in a dramatic display of power. Every one of his foes was feeling the pressure from his energy, that then manifested into a sudden flurry of ki blasts, striking each of the Jokerized metas with pinpoint accuracy. Then, the blast wrapped around them, morphing into rings of energy that bound their limbs to the walls.
Vegeta possesses power greater than before. How is the prince continuing to soar?
Because Vegeta's time is over. You may call me Super Vegeta.
With a snap of his fingers, the energy bindings tightened, then exploded. He'd been careful not to kill any of them. He knew Diana wouldn't let him hear the end of that. But he was still enjoying his new power. Besides, beating them to unconsciousness was fun, but the restraint and control he needed not to kill the weaker ones was excellent training for his new form. The Saiyan took a deep breath, then exhaling, as the energy drain still took it out of him. Vegeta continued to journey through the castle, glowing neon arrows serving as a guide.
So, my liege is finished with his day at court. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Worry not, your majesty, your jester awaits. So sorry to make you come to me, but I've something special staged for you down the halls. Perhaps some foolery while you wait? Your people love battle, to enforce your will, your strength over another. Let me tell you about the unstoppable force of chaos and merriment, meeting the immovable object of determined grumpiness. Our battles were grand. We fought for the very soul of Gotham. I killed a son of his, you know. Crippled a daughter. I took from him everything I could take. And he still never gave in, that stubborn beauty. I see that same will in you, which is why I built for you this court, arranged for you this challenge. You have the spark. I know that if anyone can fill the void BAXI left in this world, oh well, it's you.
Vegeta tuned out the clown. He focused on trying to find him by closing his eyes and sensing out the villain. Joker's energy stood out like a spotlight. The prince went deeper, trying to see if he could glean anything of what Joker had planned. But touching that crazed mind sent something back to the prince.
Oh, so intimate already. My, it's our first date. Oh, this reminds me of a joke. So, a prince is feeling rather down, so the king calls on the jester to help cheer him up. And the jester comes in on his unicycle, juggling flaming torches one-handed while playing a trumpet. But the prince still won't crack a smile. So, the jester goes the old faithful well of physical comedy. Starts pratfalling all over the place. Knocks over a dozen knights like dominoes. Even manages to land face first in a pie. Prince's mouth doesn't even budge an inch. So, the king sighs and motions to his corpse. They bring in the guillotine. And suddenly the prince is all giddy. They hold the jester down, and believe me, he is screaming by now, begging for his life. And that gets the prince to start laughing. Finally, they chop off the jester's head, and it rolls right to the feet of the prince, who's now doubled over, crying tears of joy at the way the jester's silly hat managed to stay on his severed head. You see, the moral of the story is that comedy isn't hard. Comedy isn't hard, no. It's all in the execution.
The prince had to jog himself out of the fit of laughter. Something about trying to read the Joker's energy was all wrong. It pushed back. But there wasn't a need anymore, as Vegeta rounded the final corner and saw an extravagant scene. The Joker stood in the middle of the room, holding a switch. On either side were two large cases covered by red curtains.
Good morrow, your highness. I begin our fated dance with a true classic. Choose one to die. The prodigal son dressed in his father's skin, or the one girl you've shown any respect to.
In front of the Clown Prince was a switch, a simple device that required but a flick to make one cage or the other fill with boiling acid. Mirror Master's cackles echoed in the endless void he had trapped Wonder Woman inside of. Despite being corrupted by the Joker, Mirror Master had enough sense to follow the instructions not to engage, only to remove Wonder Woman from the battlefield. Diana was unfazed. She was a fast learner. Barry had been the first to show it. Wally had mastered it, and Kakarot now showed her you didn't need the Speed Force. So she concentrated and began to vibrate her arms at super speed. It took a while to find the right frequency, but all of the multiverse ran on sound. And Wonder Woman was a poet at heart.
Do you know why I wear these bracelets? Why every Amazon wears them? Because long ago we were held in bondage, but broke free of our chains. We wear them to remember our past, to make certain that no Amazon shall be caged again!
With the power of a pantheon, Wonder Woman crashed her bracelets together, and from them hit the exact frequency of multiverse stability. A rift opened in front of her, leading her to the space she was taken from. Mirror Master tried to catch her, but this time Diana was ready, and took down the cackling fiend with a quick chop to the neck. Mirror Master was no longer a threat, but Diana wanted to know exactly what they were dealing with, and prepared to wrap him in the lasso of truth. In another part of the castle, the same prince walked cockily up to the scene he'd been presented with, the Joker leaning on the death switch before him.
So this is what you do. Set up cowardly traps and sit back to watch and laugh while this planet's heroes struggle with what to do.
Oh, you wound me, dear prince. Does not all this effort do the least bit to flatter you? I promise, it wasn't easy.
I quite liked fighting the monster, I'll give you that. The rest were pathetic. But I have a question. If I have to choose someone to die, why not you?
Vegeta, no. It's never that simple with the Joker. You have to listen to me. He weaponizes our win conditions. Choose me. I do this by choice. That girl doesn't deserve to be here. Just pick me and he'll lose.
And be blamed for another Justice League death? Please. This clown's whole plan is to make me look bad, to try and prove I'm not as good as all you heroes. Well, you know what? He's right. I'm better. Better than you. Better than Kakarot, too. I'm not going to have a Batman killed like he did. The fool here is clever, but he doesn't truly comprehend the mind of a Saiyan.
Well, to be fair, it's a bit hard, seeing as they're all dead and whatnot.
Wonder Woman had given Mirror Master enough time to recover and collect himself, the lasso freeing him from the effects of the Joker's toxin. Still, the mental damage was intensive, and Diana grew even more disgusted at the perverse madness of Bruce's old arch foe.
Evan McCulloch, I promise you, I will ensure you and all those victims affected by this game are healed from these vile effects. Help me stop the monster who did this to you. What is the Joker's plan?
He wants to die!
Hera, no. Vegeta!
Joker smiled at Vegeta as he leaned on the switch, and Vegeta smiled back. Their eyes met, and then Vegeta vanished, now holding Joker by the throat, far away from the switch. Batman and the girl were safe, and now the Saiyan Prince would make sure this clown could never hurt another soul.
Any last words?
It's all a joke!
The clown's head hit the floor as Wonder Woman entered the room. Diana looked at everything before her and cursed herself for not reactivating the armor's restraints on Vegeta.
Oh, now you're here. To lecture me, I suppose. I saved your friend and that child. He couldn't play with me the way he did with the rest of you.
It was the same with Lex. You did precisely what he expected of you. The Joker just exposed your redemption is a joke.
The fruit-powered Super Saiyan grabbed Cassandra by the cape and smacked Gohan with her. Then, Turles was right on top of the boy once more, and smacked his jaw up into the air. Superboy shook the damage off, but his eyes widened as Turles' arm continued to follow him, morphing into a ki-infused branch, similar to Kakarot's Ryujingu Bang, that crashed against the hero's confused defenses.
Gohan! Cass, run! This guy's as strong as Mr. Kakarot! I can try and hold him off, but you've gotta run!
No!
Brave one. Should have expected Batgirl to have some guts. You know, that's why Mr. Kakarot likes her more than you. Let's see what those guts look like on the fields.
Turles charged at Cassandra, who was unable to react before the Cloud Somersault picked her up and carried her to safety at super speed. Turles turned back around, wanting to continue the chase, but was smacked into the ground by a sudden kick from Gohan, the plant monster breaking the roof of their barn.
Quick! You need to lead! Get back up! Get Superman! The Justice League! We can't fight him!
No. He is our master. We save him.
He's got Mr. Kakarot's power! We can't beat that!
We can. You can. I'm going in.
The Cloud Somersault flew into the air and weaved through the many plants, striking it away. Cassandra was going to rescue Kakarot, her father, no matter what. She needed Gohan to get his confidence and save them both from that monster.
That girl ran. Must have given her too much credit. What about you, Superboy? You ready to beat up Daddy like a real man?
You are not Mr.
Of course. That weakling is just a fuel supply for me. You know, he's got a whole lot more power inside him. Won't use it for some reason.
Me, on the other hand.
A fruit grew on the Mogo tree just as the two Saiyans were speaking, and Turles jumped towards it, ripping it off the branch and taking one bite from the fruit.
I'm done with you! You're fake. You're a copy. You're just here as a tool for Luthor.
Inside the tree, Ivy was watching the carnage erupt with a solemn expression. She wasn't enjoying this,
and her child seemed to have taken on her worst traits of sadism, amplified by a Saiyan's natural killer instinct. Still, it was needed to save the world.
Red's not paying attention to me, and now I can't even see Mr. J's big plan. This stinks. He was so excited about it all. Back to his old self. He's not hitting me in the face anymore, so I look good for the cameras.
What? Why?
Whoa, hold on, big guy. You ain't in any shape to talk. Doctor's orders.
Why do you let him be so mean to you?
Well, it's just that...
That you're too smart to see how stupid you are, Harley. What excuse are you gonna make for him this time?
Harley and Ivy erupted into another argument. It was the same argument they'd been having for years. This time, however, it served a greater purpose, as Cassandra Kakarot was able to sneak inside the command center and get close to her master. The Shadow had managed to sleuth her way here, but was unsure of how to proceed. Her master was clearly the power source for the Talus Gohan was fighting, but Cassandra couldn't sense any direct connection between them, just an intense amount of pain coming from Kakarot's heart. It was then she realized what she'd have to do. But she hesitated, not sure if she had the strength of will to act on it. She only saw death as a way to stop this. Like always, she remembered Shiva, and then, with all her might, struck the Saiyan in a specific point, stopping his heart. Kakarot's hair fell down into his base state, and on the battlefield, Talus saw that one of his fruits growing on the tree rotted and fell to the ground.
Better end this quick. Looks like my son just went down.
The plant Saiyan hybrid tried to exert more pressure on Gohan's head, but he wasn't the only one who noticed the fruit, nor understood the implication. Suddenly, Talus's foot was ripped away, cracking like a twig in the hands of a true Super Saiyan.
Mr. Kakarot needs me! Get out of my way!
Tough talk, kid, but I've still got enough power to take you down.
Trees are the longest living organism on Earth. That appears untrue.
The remaining defenses of the Mogo tree stood no chance against the young Saiyan, as he blasted through them straight to Ivy's command center, ripping a hole in the wall and interrupting the two's argument.
You killed Mr. Kakarot!
What?
What?
Gohan struck like a speeding bullet and punched Ivy to the other side of the room, doubling the mistress of Mother Nature over in one blow that ripped right through her body.
No, me. I stopped his heart.
What? You what?
Gohan was lost in his anger now, as he flew straight to Cassandra and held her against the bark of the tree. His power surged off the charts as his eyes narrowed, the faint crackle of lightning barely making its whispers heard over the roar of his power. He couldn't think. None of this made any sense. His rage was greater now for some reason. His outburst was purer, as if mastering Super Saiyan and allowing himself to feel had actually made his rage that much more volatile. The Luthorin Gohan screamed at him to finish it, but the Kakarot in him told him to find balance.
Please, Gohan, let me heal.
The boy's anger faded as quick as it came, and Gohan was shocked. What he was about to do, what he'd been capable of. He looked around in terror as Cassandra caught her breath and continued with her original plan. She'd have to be quick. The average person could only be revived about a minute after stopping the heart. She had known that Kakarot could likely last longer, but how long was a mystery. Cassandra had faith, and with another strike, slowly but surely, Kakarot Kent's key signature was able to be sensed once again.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't control it. Oh God. I'm so sorry. I could've.
Gohan.
Hey, don't worry. It's not your fault.
What? What's happening?
Suddenly, a massive screen turned on the back of the room. It displayed a split image. One, a live newsfeed from the channels all over the world. The other, a pre-recorded message from the now dead Joker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sad to say that it's time for your favorite clown to have his last laugh. I'm leaving you all now. I know. It hurts to see your most cherished comedian depart this mortal coil. But I simply cannot go on without my true soulmate. But worry not, it's not all doom and gloom. I just want to take this chance to thank my esteemed colleagues. Your little Legion efforts over the last few years set the stage for this, my greatest performance to date. And to our men and women in government, you do this country proud. Granny Joker always said, leave 'em rolling in the aisles. So I've got one last joke for you all. And trust me, this one will kill you.
The news cycles began to cycle in time with the madman's laugh. The roots from the Mogo tree all over the world. They showed heroes falling to the ground in fits of uncontrolled laughter. The spores being released from the branches turned from green to a sickly purple. The streets of cities all over the world filled with people collapsing to the ground in laughter. The Saiyan Prince watched it all happening before him, as those around him fell to the same fate. He was so certain he'd outmaneuvered the clown, that Joker had cowered on heroes, always sparing his life. To Vegeta, this killing seemed like the only just one in his life, but Diana had been right. She was always right. He'd done exactly what they expected of him again, and it was going to cost this world. Cassandra realized what was happening from her experience with Joker Toxin. She ran over to Harley, hoping there was some way to stop this.
Harley! Wait, y'all look gassed? Red, did Mr. J ask you to help us something?
The tree, my spores, they've been changed.
Ivy reached out for her connection to the green and felt what was happening around the world. Her spores, designed to control people, to turn them into drones, had been corrupted and altered on a nanoscopic level. They'd become the most widespread version of Joker Toxin the world had ever seen. Joker was dead, and he was taking the rest of the planet with him. The world was erupting into a last laugh. Ivy told Harley everything that she felt. The clown looked shocked. She and Ivy were immune to the toxin, but she had no idea this was Joker's plan. And that's when Harley realized that her pudding was dead. Otherwise, he'd never take out his audience. She would look the other way for a murder, even help commit some for him. But to choke the whole world like this? Now that just wasn't funny anymore.
Red, we gotta stop this!
There's no way. Even if I wanted to save the leeches, I don't know what the chemical cocktail is. I could produce an antidote, but not without knowing the toxin's makeup.
You were right about him. I see it now. He is killing the whole world. But you're not. We can do this together. I know the formula.
Harley lifted the recovering Ivy from the ground, and the pair got to work on saving the world. Harley smiled at Kakarot. If it wasn't for his simple words, she may still have been too far gone to help save the world. So she helped Ivy understand the Joker's toxic formula, and together, the two created a cure that unraveled it all. The two shared a kiss, as slowly but surely, the world stopped laughing, and could breathe a sigh of relief. The injury from Gohan and exerting herself on this scale had taken its toll on Ivy, and the villain had to wrap herself up in a cocoon-like canopy of leaves to heal. Harley carried the plant away before the heroes could recover and stop them. Kakarot was brought onto his feet by Cassandra, and the two made their way over to the solemn boy, standing near the pool of green blood left by the tailless creature, staring into it and seeing only a monster looking back at him.
Not your fault. Power hard to control.
I've been there. It's something you can balance, Gohan.
Not this. Not what I am. I really enjoyed my time here. Cassandra, Mr. Kakarot, I really did. For just a little while, I kind of forgot what I am. I thought I could be like you two, but I'm not, am I? I'm like Turles was. A thing. An imitation of a person.
Gohan, you're my son.
I'm not. I'm subject GO011152213477. I'm Lex Luthor's creation. I'm his Superboy. Goodbye.
At a speed faster than even Kakarot could follow, the Superboy flew into the air and left his adopted home. In the aftermath of Joker's last laugh, the world healed, the death toll being far lower than the apocalyptic scale should the plan have succeeded. The Justice League was also now aware of the other threat that had taken HAWKGIRL from them, and what was behind the increase in supervillain activity. A legion of the world's greatest supervillains had been formed, and the League had to prepare for what could be their doom.
Superboy. I assumed you'd be alright.
Yes, Father.
It was a gamble leaving you with Kakarot, and it seems teaching you how to turn off your Super Saiyan form left you as unstable as my research predicted. Still, we can work on undoing the New Age misguided teachings he's gotten into your head. Report to Mercy, and she can prepare a tank for you to rest in.
Thank you, Superman.
You're always safe in my control. Now leave.
Superboy left his father's office, leaving Luthor alone to stare out of its window. He took a moment of silence before resuming the recorded conversation on his private screen.
So, are you inviting me in on all of the fun then? Oh, I love a good party.
You and Miss Al Ghul are the only ones I could trust to know about my influence behind the assembling of the world's greatest criminal minds. Her, because of her vision for global rule. You, because you're so crazy no one would believe a word of it.
Oh, Mr. President! Oh, what if the papers find out about all your dirty talk?
Hilarious. But truthfully, they're getting out of hand. They've gotten off track, and now want to turn the world into mindless drones. I don't want to rule over that. I need you to do what you do best. Be the wrench in the gears. Cause some chaos, and stop the Legion of Doom.
Oh, now that sounds like fun. I'm in. But I will need something. From what you've told me, this goes bigger than my humble skills can handle.
What do you need?
Can a neighbor borrow a cup of highly advanced nanites?
The president stopped the recording. He had underestimated the Joker. The clown had been suicidal before, but he could never predict how far things would get out of hand. But in the end, the plan succeeded. Lex's Legion was back under control, and in line with where he wanted them to be. The Justice League was weak. Mastered Super Saiyan wasn't going to save Kakarot, and his pet experiment was back in the tube he'd been born in.
I believe there's something inherently dangerous when something real becomes mythic. Because when faced with a myth, we can't win. So the mythic must be exposed for what it is. Nobody gets in Luthor's way.
Hey, it's me, Goku! Looks like Jenny is pulling me into another crazy adventure. What's she up to now? Next time on Dragon Ball DC, The Mystical Adventure.
Oh, now then, monkey, let the true horror show begin.
Let's go!